I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 148. This one's part 2 of my interview with Andrea Menendez. I think we talk a little bit more about Knoxville and the world at large and politics and architecture in this one. But yeah, this is part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, make sure you go back and listen to it. I appreciate her for being on. Make sure you go on to Instagram and give her a follow. old_city_rambler. Great name. But I appreciate her for taking the 87 hours to record 2 episodes with me. So make sure you give her a follow. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. Here we're back. Episode 2, hour 7. I'll go ahead and say on here I got sleep, so it won't be as rambly as the last one.
Hey, you got to keep with the title of the podcast. Don't disappoint.
Oh my God. See, I'm gonna go there now.
No, it's okay. I gotta learn to also stay on topic, and then we won't.
Well, this won't come out for a little while because I have some that need to drop during certain times. Mark Maron just had Ben Kingsley on. And he did this long, rambly preface of like, this was a terrible interview and he was awful and all this. And I'm sitting there listening.
Wait, like Ben Kingsley was awful?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sir Ben Kingsley.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just like, he was awful and he didn't really, whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck, how bad is this interview going to be? And he doesn't really have a sense of humor.
That's
and
funny.
There was some of it to where I was like, no. There were times at the end where he was complimenting you on the conversation. Although I will say, Ben Kingsley was the only one to talk through 90% of the interview. But the other thing was, there was one point where he was talking about the film Sexy Beast. And he was like, yeah. And Ben Kingsley went into this long kind of pretentious thing about what that character was and all this. And then Mark was like, I like the part where you peed outside of the... And it was like... Okay, I get Ben, and Ben Kingsley just quiet.
He didn't get it. It wasn't like his style.
Yeah. But he was trying to like play with him and joke with him, and nothing. Like he literally would just sit there in silence. It's like, man, I wish I had that fortitude.
Yeah. Some people just can't or don't want to do the back and forth. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's okay.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. Yeah, that is the fun part. Yeah, I'd rather have a conversation than like be grilled.
Yeah. Oh my God. So,
anyway,
in that vein,
you can go
we're going to put the needle back on the record and go right back into where we left off. I can't remember where we left off.
It was late. It was like 11:30.
It was late. I remember. I think the last 3 minutes of it were, holy shit, man! I should have gotten sleep last night.
yeah, that was most of the last 45 minutes.
Yeah. So you're a teacher. So was there anyone or any mentor in high school that kind of like impacted you or affected you that make you think what you could do in life or that you could do that for a living?
I definitely had a lot of really good teachers growing up. But ironically, when I did make the decision to teach, it wasn't necessarily like in response to like a specific teacher. Like I didn't see somebody teach and then decide like I want to be like them. I saw lots of great people teach and be like, I like this class, I like you, like I like this is a good experience for me right now. But I remember when I did decide I wanted to teach, it was like my sophomore year of college, and so like, you know, as you do, because you're a young person, you like tell your parents, and then they like spread the word in your community about what you're gonna do with your life. And so my parents had like run into a few of my old teachers, like the ones that I really connected with and I really liked. And ironically, most of them were like, oh, but she could do so much more. They're like, does she know what it's gonna be like?
Oh my God.
She's like, and I don't want to like sound like I'm complimenting myself too much, but they're like, she's just so smart and she could just like do a lot of other things. And like, I understand it now because I have students who will say something like either come back to me or their senior year and be like, I decided I want to be a teacher. And like, I had the exact same reaction. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
But you know what? They might. I mean, like, they're in school now. Like, of anybody who's going to kind of understand what the inside of a public school is going to look like a high school senior is going to remember it best. So I try not to dissuade anybody. I try to be very, like, excited for them. Because if they want to change their minds, they can.
It's a weird thing in that I'm going to invoke a name that I'm going to preface it by saying I don't like this dude anymore.
Okay.
I think there was a period of time where he actually was very impactful in my life, and I think he actually was good for the community at large. He has since changed that, which is fucking Joe Rogan. That's how I should refer to him from here on out.
Fucking Joe Rogan. Yeah.
But he would want to be knowledgeable in a topic and would have somebody on so he could. I was like, that's what the fuck I do. Like that's kind of one of the catalysts to me doing this. But he had, now I can't pull his last name. Dude ran for president. Andrew. Can't pull his last name.
I don't know.
But he had that guy on. And they talked about UBI, about Universal Basic Income.
Oh, Andrew Yang?
Yang. Andrew Yang. Good job.
Thank
you. Gold sticky star. But he started talking about UBI, and Rogan was saying, yeah, because you could be some kid in poverty in, I can't remember, let's say Massachusetts, in rural Massachusetts, and want to really do pottery. That's something that you feel impassioned about, but you can't do it because you have to get a fucking job to pay the fucking bills. And Joe Rogan was saying, that's some bullshit. He's like, we live in this world now where if you want to be able to do that, it may take some time to get good at it and make money at it, but people should be allowed to fucking do it. Like, he was actually like amped up about that. And that was the first person I'd heard somebody make the case for UBI. And I was like, yeah, that's totally right. Because if somebody comes to you as a senior and is like, I feel impassioned to teach.
Yeah.
Then fuck, that kid should teach.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you should be like art. It's shitty that art most likely is going to come from, or quote unquote successful art is going to come from people who like don't have to worry about an income.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and like, yeah, with any profession, I remember in high school, or like all through starting in middle school, all the way through high school, every once in a while you take those like aptitude tests or those like interest tests, and you'd get this like, whatever, it was before some standardized tests, and you'd get your little weird like pie chart back in the mail that was like, you should be 51% of you, or there's 51% chance that you'd be a good cabinet maker or a mortician or like whatever. And all of my little dots on the little grid were always in like low paying, not a lot of room for advancement kind of careers, because it's like, I mean, like, I want to have enough money to live. I want to survive. I want to be comfortable, but like, I'm not competitive, and like, I'm never going to be somebody who measures my success by wealth. Like, I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun and do what I want and help people. And like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to know that what I do is like meaningful in some way. So, but
whereas I have the marketing brain.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's figure out how we can make you money. The amount of, I hate to say it, but there is a woman I dated that didn't work out, but we still remain friends. And she has an OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. And at one point she came to me and she was like, "You're a marketing person.
Yeah.
Can you help me?" And I was like, "I don't know shit about this." And I'm not saying that to hide anything. I was like, "No, I just don't know anything. But this is not my world." So I just dove. And because I'm a fucking nerd, I just dove head first. And I was like, "Oh, fuck." And I was like, "Oh, you can do that." Because it's the same thing as like Patreon.
Yeah.
Which I have been exploring for years.
Yeah.
And I started looking into it. And then I started looking around and I was like, why is everyone not doing it? Like, it's literally like one of those things to where I had a very attractive friend of mine that she was complaining about her medical bills. It's like, I'm not kidding. Just do it, man. You can make so much money. And she was like, I don't know. I couldn't show my face. It's like, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
And I just started going down the line of just like.
And she's like, how do you know this?
Well, it was a weird thing. I had to, like, there were like 3 people within a week that started complaining to me about not having money.
Yeah.
And there were people who were not like musicians or artists or shit like that to where they could do a Patreon.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them, I was just like, just do it, man. I was like, there are a lot of dudes out there willing to pay a lot of money. I was like, just fucking do it, man. I was like, who gives a shit anymore? But it's the marketing brain. And I had to explain, I was like, I swear to God, I hope I'm not coming off like a creep. I'm just like, here is everything I learned. I will just email you all the documentation. And then you do it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about, I don't care. I want you to feel more safe.
Yeah.
Especially the one with the medical issues. It's just like, it's a mess. It's a mess what's going, that's another issue.
Anybody
and the medical stuff and the UBI and all that stuff. I'm like, she is somebody, I was like, somebody needs to get their ass whooped. Like, because of how she's getting screwed in the medical world right now. I'm like, somebody needs to get their ass whooped, man. This is bullshit. That a woman that's 34, 35 that has like Crohn's disease, which has led to more issues because it didn't get properly treated. Like that kind of crap. I'm like, this is too rich of a country for a person like that to have to be stressed all shit about how she's going to pay to live.
Right. Which just makes your health even worse. You're like, you just,
But yeah, she was it was a weird, but we went on for like 5 hours. She was like, I will think about it.
Yeah.
Like she was honestly like, holy shit, you think I could? I was like, yeah, just do it.
Yeah. There have been several times where I'm like, how can I take like the kind of like the side hustle, not get rich quick, but like, how can I turn something that I do really like into more money? And the thing that's always stopped me is like, even with something like Patreon, like you gotta really like, you do have to invest in it.
Yeah.
Like you gotta invest the time and you gotta like make sure whatever social media platforms that you're also using, like I'm just not a self-promoter. I am like,
okay,
very much not a self-promoter. And so that makes that, like we talked last time about music, I was like, I don't have the energy or the desire to be as like putting myself out there as much, because like I know I could, but I know I could just like bite the bullet.
That's going to be me pushing you to go out and play more. Like
for sure.
Yeah, like I want to see you performing more. Like,
okay. All right, great. Yeah. Truly, that's really all it takes. Even like somebody just being like, you should do that. I'd be like,
yeah,
should I do that?
Yes.
The most recent one is, so I've been toying around with the idea of an MFA, just not to make more money, just because like I want to be able to write better. And so there's a low residency program at Swanee, and I have a friend who went to undergrad at Swanee, and I was just like, I wasn't telling anybody about it because I was embarrassed, because I was like, who am I to do that? And what people are going to ask questions and be like, why? And I told her, and immediately she's like, oh my God, you should do it. You would love that. Swanee's so cool. Yeah, you should go. I was like, and then I was like, so I spent like the last week just like doing all my research. I've read like every single word on the Swanee MFA, like School of Letters website. I've gone through all of their social media, like looked at all the application stuff. I was like, am I gonna do it? Is that all it took, was for one person to be like, you should do that? I'd be like,
hey,
I should do that.
If you need the extra push, here's person number 2.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like, Jody, I need help. Just tell me I can do it. Okay, thanks.
Sometimes you got to put your name in the hat to actually do the damn thing. There's a skateboard sitting right there. I've had an idea for an art exhibit for like the last 3 years. And it took, for me, I didn't admit that I was an artist till I was in my 30s. And it took a lot for me to get to that place. And it's still doing my shit because I don't know if anybody wants to see it.
Right.
I don't know if anybody gives a shit. All that. So I finally, one of my friends works for a certain arts organization here in town. I was like, wait, you all exhibit there? And she's like, we do. I was like, can I, like, how long is the wait list? She's like, I have no idea. And she was like, here's the form. Mm-hmm. You can upload pictures or you can write a thesis and you can submit and you'll get chosen or not chosen. I was like, I haven't cracked open one paint can on doing this.
Yeah.
I was like, but signing up may push me into like, oh fuck, I gotta do it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I gotta do it now.
I need deadlines. Like
Yes.
I hate deadlines. All through college, I was just like a ball of nerves because I was always like, I would try to be proactive, open up my whatever essay, project, whatever it was, and I would just stare at a blank document for weeks until 7 p.m. the night before, and there's like. So I realized, with poetry and music, I was like, I have to sign up for stuff.
Yeah.
Like I got to spend money or sign up for something, have some like social pressure to make me open up the notebook and pick up my banjo, whatever it is, and do it.
And I can't remember if it was on mic or not when I asked you about Chelsea.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it was. But
Okay.
I did look her up, and I do know her. Well, I don't know her, but like we have been in the same room together, and now I follow her on Instagram. So hi, Chelsea.
Chelsea's awesome. But Chelsea sent me a DM because she had been on, and it talked about she had found out she was part Melungeon.
Oh yeah, I've been. I listened to the sound. So
fascinating.
Cool. I listened to all of it. I was just like, I didn't know any of that stuff.
But she
before.
posted that on Facebook. And I liked it, opened it up and started listening to it. And I was like 2 minutes in and all of a sudden, bing, I got a DM and she was like, I'm not kidding. Being on your podcast is what made me do that.
That's awesome.
And
oh
I was
my
like,
God, that's
fuck
great.
yeah. And I was like, please tell me they're going to record that because I want to see that presentation. She was like, I don't know if they will, but I'm going to do a pachaka on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I've had a pachaka bouncing in my brain.
Oh, yes.
The circles. And she was like, we need to do it at the same time. And I was like, oh, fuck. So Chelsea pushing me may get the circles idea down. Maybe.
No, that's great. I listened to the sound clips that were posted. And I was just like, this is so cool.
But she got other people to also.
So Ethan, I realized we also have a mutual friend who I play music with. He plays fiddle. His name's Ethan, and he is also he's a professor at LMU, and he played fiddle on one of those tunes. So
that's like, awesome.
Oh my God, look, everything's connected.
For the listener at home, I got fussed at him like, hey, not all us lesbians know one another.
But
and then it was like, oh shit, I
actually have met this person.
And I think it had more to do with the poetry aspect.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's just like now I'm like trying to find them out in the wild to be like, hi,
awesome.
Let's talk.
Chelsea's an awesome person, and also a person that took me a long way. I was like, I don't know if she likes me as a person or not. And then all of a sudden came up to me at one event and gave me a big hug. I was like, well, that answers that question.
We're good. It's all good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Now I'm brain farting on. So you went to college. Mm-hmm. Did you go directly into teaching?
Yeah. Well, so I think I might have said this last time, maybe not. I started at Warren Wilson College in Asheville.
Right.
And then when I realized I wanted to teach, then I transferred to ETSU. So because I could teach right out of undergrad because they had I could get certified. So yeah, I taught, my first year teaching, I graduated a semester late because I transferred. And so my first year teaching, I was 22, wow. Which it seems like that should not be allowed. But yeah, so I've been teaching for.
That's the young and hungry people willing to do it, though.
That's true, and I was so dumb that was to date. Sorry for anybody I taught.
Yeah.
In 2015, 2016. But it was like the worst classes I've ever taught to date, and I'm sure if I had those exact same group of kids now 8 years later, it would be great. It would be fine because I was dumb and bad at my job.
Was it at the same school?
It was at the same school. Yeah. Okay. So same neighborhood, same demographic, same everything. And that was one of my hardest times, but I didn't realize how hard it was until each consecutive year after, I was like, man, that first year was really bad. That was
God.
not just how kids are these days.
And maybe this is coming from a business mind on my end, but do you like at the end of each year go like almost like have a rundown of like, here's things I did good.
Oh, yeah.
Here's things I can do improvement for next year.
All constantly. And like, it's a reason I'm really thankful that and it's not in vogue anymore to be on block scheduling. So like having a new set of classes each semester. So like after Christmas,
Right.
like you have a whole new group of kids. But like as a teacher, especially as a new teacher, it's great because you get to start completely over after Christmas. So really like when I think about it, like I just finished 8 years, but really that's 16 like sections of like you know beginning to end kind of classes, and yeah, I'm constantly be like, oh, that doesn't work. Or like they make us do a lot of like professional development things, and like we have to fill out rubrics about ourselves and like do all these other like meetings or whatever. But most teachers that I know, including myself, we're constantly thinking like that. We're always like, and usually it's in the vein of we want to make our lives easier, right? Like if I can make this easier for them, or like make the instructions more streamlined or whatever it happens to be, then my life will also be easier. And so, yeah, no, I'm always thinking about that.
Possibly a dumb question, although we're in the state of Tennessee. So when it comes to education, I don't think there are any dumb questions. I corrected myself. Fulton, like it took me a second. Like, that's a Southern thing right there. I
did not catch it.
They
is.
When it comes to like teaching English, do you have a set of books that you have to teach at that level?
Well, used to, at least in Knox County, no. We did not have we had a textbook that we could use. It was like a resource, and like obviously some teachers were stuck with it more strictly than others. But like and this is maybe not good for a first year teacher, but like I pretty much just like had to make my own curriculum. Like I made it with the other teachers who taught the same grade as me, but like if you went from one school to another in the district, like you're probably reading completely different things. Until a couple years ago, they bought an actual curriculum for us, which I was initially on board for because that meant like, oh, it should be less work for me, right? Like I don't have to make lessons from scratch all the time, even though like I really like doing that. But yeah, they bought this curriculum called Springboard, and it is the worst. It is just like I feel like I can say this on this podcast because all the teachers are on the same page. Even admin is like, so Springboard, huh? You making it work? You figuring it out? It's just like the stories are dumb and the questions are bad and they don't build on each other, and just like so. Now, yes, we do have like a book that we're supposed to be using, but
sorry,
no, it's good.
I meant a set of books that you give as homework.
Oh, like novels?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same. So the same thing. I would say. So we have like a list of approved books that we can choose from.
Fucking hell.
And if it's not approved, you just have to fill out some paperwork to like make it approved. But it's like kind of a pain.
Down in the last year.
Yes, and since we bought the new curriculum, if it's not Springboard, quote unquote, then we technically can't do it. Or we have to like fill something.
People for you.
It's like it's pretty annoying, but yeah. At this point, we are. When I first started teaching, I was teaching sophomores and juniors mostly. Sophomores, we always did Of Mice and Men and Antigone. I scrapped Antigone for Oedipus because I like Oedipus better. And then in juniors, we always taught Gatsby, Raise It in the Sun, and there's another one. I can't remember what the other one is. But over the years, like, also as teachers, we just get bored. Like, we get tired of teaching the same stuff. Right. So we'll all get together and be like, are we done with Gatsby? I was like, I think we can be done with Gatsby for a little bit. And we'll find something new.
I think Gatsby, junior, even when I was in high school, I hated that book.
Yeah.
But I think it was everyone at Fulton did because that book is about...
It's about rich people cheating on each other.
Yes. And so I think everybody in the class was like, why in the hell are we reading this bullshit? And I've got friends that's like, it's the greatest American novel and all this shit. I'm like, I can't relate to any of the characters, man.
Yeah.
I was like, I can tell you why I don't like it. I'm not stupid.
Yeah,
I'm
not dumb. I just don't like it.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Well, there's definitely books like I feel that way about. Gatsby I didn't read until literally I was teaching it. Right? Like I didn't read it in high school. It just like wasn't a book that my teacher taught. And so yeah, the first year I taught it, I was like, what the fuck I don't even know what to talk about this thing.
Yeah.
And now that I've read it 16 times, I'm like, okay, so if you see on page like 97 and see how he uses the word hulking here, describe time, I'm just like
really?
red stringing it. I'm just like, and like some kids are on board with that and like some kids aren't. And it depends on what the level of your class, like how much of that you want to do. But like, honestly, when I've taught Gatsby, it's a lot of my students, it ends up being like their favorite unit that we do.
Really?
But I got tired of teaching it. So we haven't taught, or like the group of English 3 teachers, we've all kind of petered out on Gatsby. But
I can't even think. Like, I remember Romeo and Juliet my freshman year. Remember The Pearl sophomore year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Steinbeck. I don't think we read Of Mice and Men because I didn't read that until college or after college on my own.
Yeah.
I remember Gatsby. The Crucible was also like soft. I hated that book too.
The Crucible. Okay, I got lots of feelings about The Crucible. It's like I can get kids on board because I'm like, it's about witches, but then a bunch of kids like don't realize by the end that there weren't any real witches. I'm like, no, it's a metaphor.
Yeah,
It's an allegory. And also there's just like really fucked up sexist stuff and just like that are like we English teachers try to explain away and be like, so what is the function of Abigail? And really we're all getting together like, this book is like bad.
Yeah.
This book is a bad representation of like female sexuality and like young women. Like what they're capable of.
We didn't read Grapes of Wrath because that was another one I read.
Oh, I love Grapes of Wrath. That's one of my favorite books.
Like, it was one that blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire chapter about the turtle.
The dust in the windows.
God. It was, and just how amped up I was by the end.
Same.
So then when I watched the film and saw Henry Fonda do the speech, I was just like, almost like a football player. Like,
oh, I was like, I think I can safely say like I was anti-American by the time I got to the end of because I was reading it when I was a junior in high school. That was 2008. And so like housing market crash, like I'm reading this as I'm watching all of these things happen. I'm like, this is America. You guys don't understand. He knew it. It was like he's right about Great Depression. Like, everybody was experiencing the same thing.
Catcher in the Rye, we did not read. I'm only mentioning the ones we didn't read because I heard later from other people. They're like, wait, you didn't read those in high school? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like it was. I didn't
read Catcher. I still haven't read Catcher in the Rye.
It's. I'm going to use a term that I'm only using because I've been watching a lot of British clips. Okay. And I love this term. It's an awful term. But it was just like, what an entitled twat.
Yeah. Okay, so I did try to read it. I was like, I think if I had read it in high school, because I know so many people are like, oh, this is my book. Like, this spoke to me. And I tried to read it as a 25-year-old. I was like, this little piece of shit. I've taught too many of these kids to like be able to empathize.
Like 22, 23. I already had a job for God knows how many years at that point. And I was like, screw this little pissant.
Yeah.
One that I did read on my own my senior year was On the Road. And that was the exact right moment to read. Yeah. Especially in that year in like 95, 96 when cell phones weren't really a thing. Like, and all that. And just reading that book and knowing how much it like meant to me at that moment. Like but I read on my own. Mm-hmm. But I think about a lot of those books. I don't know how like Of Mice and Men, To Kill a Mockingbird, I read my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. The copy I have I actually stole from that high school because they were working on the 4th floor. Nobody's up there. And there was just this cart up there. I'm not kidding, with an inch of dust on it. With copies of books. I was like,
it's like, I'm just going to take one.
I did. These. I was like, this shit's going to get ruined.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving? Can you not figure out to roll this tin?
Yeah.
So I just took a copy of the book, and I feel not guilty about that.
No, that's fine. I have some copies of that. When I moved from the house I was renting in South Knoxville to where I live now, I found 5 copies of Fahrenheit 451 on my shelves, and they all came from the school. Oh I guess I was just like, oh, I'm teaching that this semester. I need to take a copy home. And I was like, I just had taken like over the years, like 5 copies of the books. It's like, oh, I should take those back.
That was one that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
That's still, I think, maybe my favorite book.
it's just like it's just such good writing too.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Well, and I know I talked about it last time, but I swear the Sherlock Holmes books are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for someone who's a kid, a young
Yeah,
person.
there are kids who eat those up.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. But it was weird what I read later. Like I'm sitting, when I was in college, this is still the dumbest thing ever. I had never heard of American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Have you ever read it?
I have not read it. I've
You're
seen
good.
the movie.
You're good.
Okay.
You're
Right.
good. The movie's fantastic. The book is so graphic. But there was a buddy of mine that I was going to college with that was like 5 or 6 or 7 years older than me. That when we would have to go to Borders or Barnes and Noble to kind of look at book covers and spines and all that, we would always go over to American Psycho and he'd pull it out and he would just go, read that. and I would read it. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? They shoved the hose with the gerbil. What the fuck is this book?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't need to, because there's something about reading it instead of just seeing gore or like something incredibly graphic on a screen. You could be like, okay, that's what that is. It's like staring at the ghost, right? It's like staring at the thing that's supposed to be scary. But like with a book, you're just like, it's in my brain now. It's
I hate to say I'm the opposite. I can't
really?
take it on the screen. But the angriest I've ever been at a book, there's, I think I may have good copies up there. Herman Wouk, The Winds of War and War and Remembrance. These World War II novels. Big epic, told the story of a family. But there is a scene in Winds of War that I'm sitting there reading this. I would go to Walden Books out of East Town Mall or even Walmart and just whatever interested me, grab a paperback because it was like $4 and just tear through it. When I was like 14 or 13, like, so I'm sitting there reading Winds of War and something happens and I'm literally reading it and I go, motherfucker, and I threw it across the room. And then I was like, oh shit, I hope my parents didn't hear that. Like, okay, so I got the book and I started reading it, but it was something involved what Nazis did to Jewish people, and I was just like literally in tears, like I want to start choking people. I'm so angry in this moment, but yeah, I can remember more books that I read on my own than what was assigned to me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I was, when I think about myself, when I thought about myself as a kid, I feel like I remember myself as like very obedient and compliant, but like internally I think I was like resisting everything. I was like, if you told me to do anything, like I was gonna drag my fucking feet to do it. And like and with books, like truly I don't think I read a single summer reading book. And again, I am an English teacher now. I force kids to read books.
See, we didn't have summer reading either.
Well, so like for honors and AP classes, there was always summer reading. Okay. And so I think I read, for some reason, so I read The Awakening before my junior year. I freaking love that book. I tore through that book.
I don't know.
And all it is, it's Kate Chopin in a unfulfilling marriage. Spoiler alert, she drowns herself at the end. And it's just like, I don't know why I love that book so
my God.
much. But I've like talked to other people who are like, yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, it's a pretty bleak, nothing happens book. But I was just like, I just couldn't get enough of it.
It's amazing though. All these books we're talking about.
Yeah.
They've got to be where you can't read them now.
I don't know. That's weird because like if a book has been taught long enough, people forget like the crazy stuff that's in it.
Because like Of Mice and Men.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we listened to, when I used to teach that for sophomores, we would always, depending on the level of the class, sometimes I would have a class, I could assign it and they'd take it home and read it. But for most of my classes that I taught that were just like kind of regular standard level, we would do the audiobook of it and we would listen to most of it in class. And we would get to like the chapter, just like a lot of N-words, just so many N-words. And I just like, it's Gary Sinise reading it on the audiobook. And I always pause it before I was like, so if anybody wants to check out for a second, that's okay. A lot of N-words are going to happen. We're going to talk about why, how that happens, but just preparing you. And like, it always went fine. And I never had anything like bad happen, but it was mostly it was just like uncomfortable to listen
Yes.
to. It's just like Gary Sinise like over and over
Lieutenant
and over again.
Dan.
Like, yes, Lieutenant Dan, and I've got his picture pulled up like on the smart board because I'm always like, as we're listening to the book, I'm pulling up references like things that they probably don't know what they are, and like so they can see pictures or whatever. And we got Gary Sinise's face up there, Lieutenant Dan, just like inward.
Well, I backed a Kickstarter years ago that this guy had taken. I can't remember if it's Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer with Jim.
Huck Finn, yeah.
And they replaced that with robot, and then got an artist to draw Huck Finn and a robot.
That's funny.
And I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, I love this as an idea. This is great.
Yeah.
So in between our two recordings, Cormac McCarthy passed away.
Yeah.
So, and I posted about this on Facebook, like, there were times where I would just be like, okay, I want to read everything by an author. And I would read it. So I've done that for like Kerouac, Steinbeck, Polinick, Cormac. There's probably a couple more. There's some that that they didn't have that many books.
Right.
But Cormac was one. When I finally started reading him, it was before No Country for Old Men came out. I remember that. But it was just like, it took, and I still can't remember if it's, I'll never learn this. If it's Meriden or Meridian.
I think it's Meridian.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. That's what I've always like said in my head.
And
but
you
again,
can say it to me, and I will still forget because I'll be like, "Wait, which is the wrong one?" But that book took me months to get through.
Yeah,
because it is a juggernaut. It is a beast.
I have not read that one. I have read several of his other ones, but yeah. So The Road came out my sophomore year of high school, and we read it. Like my English teacher assigned it to us, and I was like, "That was." I mean, we're reading it like section by section, but that first day or second day, I completely plowed through it to the very end, and I was like, Cormac McCarthy, he's my guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna read everything by him, and I still haven't read everything by him, but yeah, I just this is the style of writing I like. I like bleak. Dark, Death of the American Dream.
I tell you, the Road. The funniest thing is, so my mom reads a lot. And she reads like all the Stephen King books and is a voracious reader too. But she read that book and then gave it to me. And she's like, honey, you should read this. And I read it. And I swear to God, at the end of every chapter, I was like, whew, can't get much worse than that.
Yeah, right. And then you get to the baby over the campfire. You're like, hooray.
But it was every chapter got worse.
Every chapter got worse.
I was like, how the fuck is this happening?
Honestly, my biggest criticism of that book, at least at the time, and I should reread it to see if I feel differently, but like, yeah, that book is so dark, like 98% of it. And then like the very last little section, I was like, wait, where did this come from? And like I remember like going to my English teacher the next day. I was like, what the fuck is with the end of this book? And again, I want to read it again to see if I still feel like it's too nice at the end. But
spoiler.
Yeah.
Because spoiler isn't the end. The dad dies, and then a family that had kind of been tracking him, him and the kid, essentially support the kid. And
yeah, they like pick him up.
And they're actually good people.
They're actually, see, that's what I was waiting for. I was like, and then they pull out a bow and arrow and they shoot him in the head, which is like, I was like, right. Not like I wanted that to happen, but that's what I was expecting. So yeah, spoiler alert, that's how it ends. But it's been a long time, guys. I had plenty of time.
Yeah. I don't know. That kid's going to be fucked up for the rest of his life.
I remember reading an interview that same year with Cormac McCarthy. He was like, I wrote it as a love letter to my son. I was like, this?
What the fuck? You need to find another family, kid.
Like, yes.
Have you ever, so the one I recommend everybody, have you ever read House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski?
No. We talked about this last time.
Okay.
It's on my to do,
That's right.
to experience.
You got to read all three. You got to read all three stories at once because there's three stories that are happening concurrently. Can't remember what we talked about last time. So if I repeat, you got a much better memory than I. So, but you got to read them all at once.
Okay.
Like I've had friends be like, "Oh, I skipped this part." I was like,
"Why?
Why? Like, what are you doing?" And I think it's even there's a diary or a journal of the mom in the end, and I even read it.
Yeah.
But that book, if you need somebody to talk to, I will talk to you
I will
about
now that I know, again, I need pressure. I need social pressure.
So that was another weird one that there was a magazine called Year. So when I was in college, I could get magazines for, everybody could, for like $1 for a year.
Right.
So I subscribed to like 25 magazines, and I would just tear through them. That's how I learned music. That's how I found music. But I'm sitting there, I think it was Gear, where I'm sitting there flipping through this, and all of a sudden there's a photo of this dude with the brightest of blue hair, even brighter than that Toy Story DVD, even brighter than the top of that Goonies, like the brightest blue raspberry icy hair. That's the best descriptor I can give it. And I was like, who the fuck is this? And it was Mark Danielewski. And I read the thing on it, and I went and bought a copy, and my copy is a very early copy. But it's fucked up. Like, in it, it's like, this is printing 4. Printing 1 was this full color hardback. There was no printing 1. Like, even the story,
even the like the book jacket, like the
even
like,
the story of the print, the actual first printing is a PDF file. Like, that's what they literally, but the copy I have is so early that my buddy Greg, when he finally got into it, he's sitting there looking, he's like, holy shit, when did you get this book? I was like, I swear to God, I think like within a month of it coming out.
What year did it come out?
I can't tell you. But it's that book, like, I read it, I was working at the paper, I read it in the parking lot on my lunch breaks, and it scared the shit out of me. In daylight, broad daylight.
That's what everybody says.
Knowing nothing is behind me.
I am always searching for the scariest book. Like, I want to be like pants scared out, and like not gore. Like, I want vibes.
I
like,
think it's
want anxiety,
yeah,
like claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I look for in like movies. Like, when I want like a scary movie, like I need like Alien, I think, is like the best. It's great. It's great.
Have you seen Session 9?
No.
Here's where the film nerd in me comes up.
I know now. I've unlocked. Now I've opened the can.
Session 9 is this film that came out in like late 90s, early 2000s. Had David Carradine, Josh Lucas, Peter Mullen. And I can never remember the fourth dude's name. But it is this film where it's these 4 dudes cleaning asbestos out of a abandoned mental health facility.
I love it already.
It's all in daylight. It's the creepiest fucking thing I've even talked about it to people, and they're like, that movie is fucked up. It is so fucked. And that The Descent. Yeah. About the female spelunkers. That movie.
Well, now I've been following the missing submersible for Titanic, and that's all I can think about. Yeah, it's just like,
see, that terrifies the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, like
even
I never
being
used to
in
be
like a
claustrophobic.
lake,
yeah,
where you can't. It bothers me.
Yeah, I'm like a dark water. I don't know. There's like a word for it, like the fear of mechanical things underwater. Yeah, that I cannot. Like if I was like, I the thought of like jumping off the side of a boat and be able to see the body of the boat underwater, like,
I have weird pangs of claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Like, even to the point, the one I always remember is there was one time I was standing in Best Buy. This was 2 decades ago, more probably. And all of a sudden, like, we ran into a couple of friends, and then another friend was standing like here, and then another one rushed up and was right in front of me. And I literally went, y'all have to get the fuck away. Like, it was just
it was out of nowhere, or it felt
crowded,
like it
felt like claustrophobia.
Yeah.
And I literally had to walk away. I was like,
I never used to be claustrophobic. I loved being in small spaces. Like, as a little kid, I was telling this to Bethany the other day, I would flip the laundry basket over on top of me, and I'd ask somebody to sit on it.
Oh God.
I would clear all of the books and all the magazines out of like the end table, and because I had like a little cabinet, and I would like crawl in there and just like be in there for a long time. And now the thought of being in a submarine on a like, I can do planes, but like I don't know where this claustrophobia came from, but it's pretty severe.
Well, I think it's also it's the cave stuff. It's like
caves. Yeah.
I was like, I'm in my brain is working overdrive on. I can't get out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the shit that bothers me. Yeah. Like,
even if we're like lying on the couch together and she's like on the out, like I have to be on the outside, or else I have to have all limbs up and like in the air, or I have to have like one like dangling down on the floor. It's like, I need to know that I can get up at any point. Just
rub it in. As the giant guy, I'm never the one on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm never the one. I am the stone that they're laying. The dog is sunning himself on. I'm like, just the like that. Yeah. Oh my God. McCarthy, Danielewski. know, man. There's all kind. Now, kind of give shout outs to books. Like, have you ever read? Fuck, we probably talked about this, and now I'm terrified to ask.
Oh no, that's
the
okay.
Bible.
Have I read the Bible?
Yeah.
Cover to cover? No.
Okay.
It's been read to. I grew up in the Lutheran Church, and it was read to me.
Okay.
One passage at a time, each Sunday.
So the other book that I would recommend for fun is this guy Christopher Moore, who's famous for writing these vampire books, but he's very funny.
Yeah.
And he wrote this book called Lamb: The Gospel According to Christ's Childhood Pal Biff. That's the other book that I recommend to everybody.
I have heard of this book.
It is the funniest because
Okay,
it's
I'm gonna write
almost
this down.
like his buddy, Christ's buddy Biff, is the doof. Is almost like the Chris Farley character.
Yeah.
Like it is the best.
Okay, I need
And
to
he ended up
read this.
releasing like a 10th anniversary edition that is the Bible form.
Okay.
Like it has the gold leaf around the edge and it's that
Oh.
real thin paper.
That's cool.
But that book, you will tear through that. It is so much fun.
All right, I just put Jesus' best friend Biff. That's not what it's called, right? But I can
Christ,
just
Lamb Christopher Moore. That's all you need to know.
okay. Yeah. Put it in my notes. All my other weird things. That
Yeah,
I'll
all I've been
get to.
reading in the last few years are nonfiction, and they're depressing as shit. It's
Yeah.
learning and getting to be a better person, and a lot of stuff on racial inequality, but then also some books on like selling and stuff. It's
Yeah.
just like
It's a lot.
man, I need another
I need a
Lamb
story.
book to come along.
I also, this is another thing that's changed about me, is like when I was younger, I couldn't do expansive like world building because I like just didn't have the attention span
Yeah.
for it. Now it's like I eat that shit up. Like
Really?
the more expansive, the more stuff I can read about like the like how the world works. Like I've never been a big sci-fi fantasy person. But my sister reads like fantasy all the time, and she's
Okay.
always like recommending books to me. But Gideon the Ninth it's just like it's not really a young adult novel, but it's like I don't know, it's not really an adult. I don't know, it's an adult novel. But it's called the Locked Tomb series, and it's just like so many people with this particular book were like nothing happens until like 3/4 of the way through. It's like, what do you mean nothing happens? We're learning all about this room, this building, the planets, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that's another thing about me that's changed. I never used to be able to like pay attention to that. And now, like, as we're watching a movie, like, I've got Wikipedia pulled up, like, as we're watching Lord of the Rings for the 17th time. I'm just
God.
like, all right, wait, where did Balrogs come from?
Oh my God.
What about the specific Balrog?
Whereas I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I have in more recent years been applauding films that I think essentially just drop you into the middle of something, don't explain anything.
Oh, that's great too, yeah.
And you just need to learn that there is a language being spoke that you don't understand. And I'm not talking about like sci-fi. I'm talking about like Ronan, Sicario. Ronan, do you know Ronan?
I don't.
It's like 1998. It's Robert De Niro.
Oh, okay.
Stellan Skarsgård, like Natasha McElhorn, Sean Bean.
Oh,
But
geez. Whoa.
it has one of the greatest car chases ever. But it's all these people that are like ex something, Jean Reno, ex CIA, ex whatever, and they're hired by an Irish woman, Natasha McElhorn, to get a case.
Gotcha.
And it's just, you get dropped into it and they speak this lingo that you have no idea what the hell they're talking about. You almost need to watch it like 3 times to get that. I love that shit. Like, and there's the film I would recommend that I would say, don't read anything about it. Don't look up anything while you're watching
I won't do it. I won't.
I wish you could not see the artwork for it. And it's called Midnight Special. And it came out in like 2016.
Midnight Special.
It's this guy, Jeff Nichols, is the writer-director. He did Shotgun Stories, Take Shelter, Mud with Matthew McConaughey, Loving, about the first interracial couple to get married, Midnight Special, Michael Shannon, Joel Edgerton, Adam Driver.
Oh, gee. This sounds really...
Chris, not Chris. There's a woman in it that I don't want to give you her name.
Okay.
I don't
It'll, like,
know if
spoil
it's,
it. Okay.
I don't know if it's in the opening credits, but I remember when she came on, she comes in like an hour into the film. I was like,
You're
holy
in this?
shit, holy shit, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it is something that you just get dropped in, and for the first 20 minutes, you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and it changes.
It unlocks.
It changes genres.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing. I can tell you the opening, which is there are people in this cult-like, Christian-y kind of cult place in, let's say, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you figure out that a guy has taken a little boy, him and his best friend have taken a little boy, and they're on the lam.
Okay.
And it's...
Don't tell me anything more.
It's the Christian cult. This is all what happens in the first minute. Okay. The Christian cult people are like not saying anything, trying to figure out. And now I can't... Sam Shepard, that's his name.
Dang.
Like,
my
he's
God,
the leader
movie.
of that cult.
Yeah.
Like, and he's trying to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's them on the run. And there's like nothing said in like the first 5 minutes, if I can remember right. And Adam Driver, I kind of probably shouldn't have said that one because he's also not in it until 45 minutes in. He is like an FBI agent that's been assigned. But
Midnight Special.
It changes genres 20 minutes in.
Uh-huh.
So if you all watch it, don't say anything to Bethany.
Okay, I won't say anything.
And almost like, because you're going to look at the artwork and be like, oh...
Okay.
Don't say anything.
Okay,
like,
I won't.
But I'm telling you, that movie, it's, I think, the best film from 2011 to 2020.
Okay.
That and Creed is right underneath it. Because I love the Rocky films, and what they did with Creed is, like I was literally in the theater crying.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, holy shit.
I never saw Creed. I was not like a rock. I mean, like I've seen the Rocky movie, like the originals, but it wasn't like a world that I was like, so excited to like get back into.
I will say, like the Rocky Balboa film from like 2006 is a sleeper. Like it is a beautiful film about someone getting older and feeling like they don't matter anymore. And it's a beautiful film. Right. And it has the greatest speech that I can almost do for you word for word. It's like, it's not about how hard you get hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Like, it's my speech I give to people when they feel down. I was like, you got to keep moving forward, man. Fuck giving up. You got to keep on getting up. And one of my friends posted something very sad. And I was like, hey, guess what? There's a lot of us that are feeling this way, but you are important. Like, I just gave her my big long speech about like, fuck this. And I noticed she deleted that. It was an Instagram story, and I noticed it went away like an hour later.
Yeah.
And she just double tapped the heart or whatever. And I was like, okay. It's like, nope, we're moving forward, man.
Moving forward, you're right.
We're moving forward. So I love that movie.
Keep going.
So I was already set up for when Creed came out, that first trailer came out, I was like,
yeah.
Man. Okay. We're going to switch gears and talk music now.
Okay, great.
Do you remember the first gig or the first time you played in public?
Ooh, actually, I don't know if this counts as the first time, because like I was in, let's not count piano recitals and like marching band and like concerts. So I went to Breadloaf School of English for my graduate degree, and I brought my banjo with me and like found a bunch of people there who like also played, and a friend that I made there had some connections with a person who owned a venue in town in Middlebury, and somebody canceled, and this guy was like, hey, do you guys want to play? That they like need somebody to play. So it was like, it wasn't just me, but there were like a bunch of other people, and it was just like very much like Last Waltz kind of like we're all like getting up there and playing with each other, and like we did have a few songs that we all practiced, just all covers, but I remember when I sang and played like by myself, and it was just like truly just our friends. Like this was not like nobody was walking in and paying money to like listen to me play. But it was the same thing like we were just talking about, like when I got done and went over to my table and my friends were just like, oh my God, you're so great.
That's awesome.
And I was just like, okay, that was good. So I should do that again. And they're like, yeah, seriously. I was like, okay. And at that point, I think I had been busking. Had I been busking? I think so. I had been going down to Market Square. So that might have been... I do remember my very first time busking, and it was outside, I think Cafe 4. And
Okay.
yeah, it was just me standing there playing my little thing and playing through covers, and like, nobody can make you stop unless.
It's a weird thing seeing how all that's progressed and still seeing
It's
the fiddle guy and the saw guy that have both been there for 20 something years.
Yep.
And it's wild.
I think we talked about this last time, but like I stopped going because I was just like, it was hard to compete. Like you had to like race down there on a market day and like claim your spot, but nobody's showing up for another, like, you're not really making any money for another 2 hours because like nobody's at the market yet.
Well, I can't remember if I mentioned that on there, but Charlotte talking to me about like they had gotten to a point where they had to assign busking areas because people were getting in the way.
Yep. Yeah.
Just setting up and being in the way.
Well, then also like you're trying to get out of earshot of other people. Like somebody's got an amp and they're on the corner and like, so you can't play even on this corner
the drums guy.
The drums guy.
He's been there forever too.
Yeah. So
it's always awkward.
Yeah. It felt like, honestly, it felt like stealing the first few times I went down there because it was easy. Like it was easy to just like find a spot, set up shop, make some friends, talk to some people, make some money, and then like leave. And like I wasn't trying to make a living doing that, so I wasn't stressed about like always doing this more than market days, because if I went down there on like a Tuesday, like that's going to be a lot harder. But yeah, then once it started getting so competitive, I was like, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it anymore.
Okay. God, you had some in the early days of WDVX. WNOX was still over here across from Whittle Springs Middle School, and that's where they used to do the original Blue Plate special, like in the 40s. That's like where Dolly Parton first played and shit. And they had this amphitheater that was one of those with the half circle stage and the seats. That is the best.
Yeah.
They did a night show there once. No air conditioning though. Middle of summer. I was dying. Like it was miserably hot. But it was one of those things. I was like, man, I wish they would do this more and more. Because you would see all these people that were teachers or whatever that would have a band, Union Grass. Yeah. One of the best bluegrass bands from around here. That they just would play randomly. Yeah. They weren't a working, if I remember correctly, they weren't a working. It's like the lead guy was the one pushing to be like, hey, we ought to do this.
Let's keep doing it. Yeah.
But I think they were all just dudes who worked in Union County. And they came down and played and blew my mind. Like, and I was thinking about that and thinking about like Biscuit Fest and all this stuff. I was like, man, it feels like there's not as many opportunities for just random music. Yeah. As opposed to it being like a singer-songwriter night or a ticketed show. Like it's not as fruitful. Yeah. That's maybe not the right word, but it's just.
Well, I feel like we've had little, like people like you, like, well, Central Collective, like the Christmas show, like there has been a group of people who have like organized, like not totally random, right? You're like reaching out and you're like, all right, would you play this show? But it did feel like that, like, 2016, 2017, where I was playing with Luke Brogdon and Southern Cities every once in a while, and I was playing with the Deem every once in a while.
Probably Evie.
Yeah, and then like
on the flip side, Evie also did that for everybody.
Right, exactly. I remember there was some gig at St. John's Episcopal Church, and I played with them, and it was just like, what was hard for me was like the style of music that like speaks to my heart and that like I get the most like pleasure out of playing is like old time music, and there are lots and lots of people in Knoxville that play old time music, but like if you're trying to find somebody to like play at WDVX or like play at Barley's or whatever with you, it's like they're like bands who are like, they've got a drum set. I'm like, I can do covers, right? I can play 3 hours of covers in a Mexican restaurant with you if you want, but like I would rather do
with me. It'd be terrible
with you.
I can't play for shit.
We're gonna go to Senior Taco.
I can't play for shit. That's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot.
It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new thing.
You talk about old timey.
A little polka. We'll do like a little polka kind of thing.
I'll pull up on my shit. Now I'm blanking on what they're called for beer.
Growler.
Growler.
Yeah.
I'll get a growler.
Yeah.
That was always my joke of like, God, I'm going to tell you a quick story just because it's stupid and funny, and I think you'll... So like I mentioned, I have the banjo in there. And there's a buddy of mine, Curvy Mata. I mentioned the last names, where he was one day, he was like, man, we ought to play together. I was like, cool, what are you playing? He's like, drums. I was like, so banjo and drums?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he was just like, what? And I was like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Well, Bethany plays trumpet. Well, she played trumpet in college, and there's been one time where we both were like, let's play together, trumpet and banjo. And it, honestly, it wasn't bad. It was kind of cool.
I can see it.
But
oh, God. I got to make another note here to tell you about something. But so there's a reason why I'm telling that. So then Sean Pointner and I out smoking cigars when Casual Pint Fountain City was out there. And this couple comes out and they start talking to us. And because I can talk to a wall and I like fucking with people, sitting there smoking. And I'm just like, they're like, so what do y'all do? And I just smacked him on the table and went, we're in a band.
Oh, yeah.
Did I already tell you this?
Yeah, no.
Damn it. Okay.
Sorry.
I still love that story of Farrell Cloggin, man. That's still...
Farrell Cloggin.
Yeah, banjo and drums. That's still my favorite story of just like, that's how I come up with my stupid business name, was off of saying we're going to play banjo and drums. Like, we're going to start a band called, I do on farrellcloggin.com.
Okay, just in case.
Yeah. Well, no, I bought it because I would always do the joke of like, well, you know, the shit, now I can't pull one. It's got to be some random term like, it's like, can you get the cast iron skillet? I was like, oh, you know, I saw cast iron skillet open for Government Mule, and I said, so I would do that shit, or I would make up song titles. I was like, man, eventually I'd love to turn this in a blog where like once a month I actually did artwork for one of these fake
That would be so cool.
Bands. But when am I going to have time? I ain't got time to. I'm overloaded.
After you paint those skateboards.
Yeah, I got to paint the skateboard.
After you finish your graphic or your comic book series.
But I'm going to bring up his name because I don't know why it got in my head, but Bill Monroe. Mm-hmm. So my grandfather played mandolin and guitar, but had given it up by the time I was born. But I had like, back in the day, they had record players that you could actually put the needle on there and it would record.
Oh, yeah.
So there were like records of my grandfather and his brother and my great uncle's wife and my grandmother singing harmony, like all this stuff of them playing. So he was really into bluegrass. When DVX comes around, and I bought him a bluegrass tapes to play in his little pickup truck. Like, I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was like, Grandpa, I'm getting into bluegrass. And I was like 16 or 17. And then he passed away when I was like 19. And it was kind of a bummer that I was just getting into bluegrass. But back in the day, what was it called? BMG?
I don't know.
It was like the Columbia House where you could get 12 albums for a nickel kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So BMG, I subscribed to that. But they would have like once a year on box sets. Box sets would be cheap as shit. So you get like the 4 CD of Led Zeppelin for like $12.
Oh, damn.
So Dad and I would always be like, okay, what are we getting? So I got Dad a Bill Monroe set. And I remember I made tape copies of it to listen to, tearing through that thing. And he did something. It wasn't at the very end of his life, but he started doing these instrumentals, and he did one called My Last Days on Earth. And it's one of the most beautiful pieces of music. It's like an orchestra, his mandolin. This is why I'm bringing it up. The weird, and like sounds of the ocean.
Cool.
And it makes me think of almost like spaghetti western type stuff, which I was like, and then I started thinking, I was like, holy shit, but he probably influenced Ennio Morricone for some of the stuff he was doing back in I was like, man, it's all connected. It's all cyclical.
It goes straight to the top.
But I ended up buying a Bill Monroe album that had that song on it. Today I was like, I'm never going to find this in a record shop. I went on Discogs and found it for like $7.
Yeah.
I was like, boom. I was like, I am going to wear the fuck out of this.
Man, in college, once I realized, I don't know why it took me so long to realize that you could get CDs at a library.
Yeah.
But I would just like especially when I first started getting into old time music, because it was stuff that you weren't going to find on YouTube, or like Spotify wasn't even really a thing at that point. But I would just like go into the CDs collection and just like check out a bunch of stuff and then like download it on my computer and then bring it back, which you're not supposed to do. But it did expose me to just like, there's just, and especially with old time music and folk music, just like seeing all the little threads, like that one snippet of a lyric from this song from, Doc Watson that you see show up in like a Grateful Dead album, like just all these little like, American music is just great. It's just so interconnected.
I think we mentioned him last time, but like Josh Ritter doing something like Bone of Song or Folk Bloodbath, where it's like you can listen to it on one level, but if you actually know the nerd shit about what he's talking about in those two songs, it's like, holy fuck, man, this is like a novel about the history of American music. Yeah, like it's insane.
The other thing I wish there are lots of things that I wish I could just like go get a master's degree in, not because I couldn't make any money, but like musicology would be something I would love to be able to investigate. But like, especially in old time songs where their lyrics are just like pure fucking nonsense, but that came from somewhere. Like it's either somebody who misheard something, somebody who was like writing their own lyric to like add to this one, or it was a fuller story at one point and like we've lost stuff along the way. But there's just like so many songs that I know and I sing them and people are like, what's that about? I was like, I don't even know.
Well, that's like I apologize. I'm going to take a drink every time I say sorry that I don't remember on the last episode because my brain is fried.
That's okay.
We talked about Yo-Yo Ma and which of the shows did you go to?
I just went to the one at World's Fair.
Okay,
so with Rhiannon Giddens and the one where they were all together. Just
you
that
didn't
one.
go to the Chris Thiele or the... Why am I blanking on
Rhiannon Giddens?
Rhiannon Giddens. I keep wanting to say Rhea Gilbert.
There's a Raina Gilbert. No, that's not Raina Gilbert.
I'm thinking of the person who plays with Scott Miller because I want to circle back around to Scott Miller.
Yeah.
But there's a guy who played with Rhiannon Giddens that he wrote a song called something like I don't sing songs about murdering women anymore.
Yes.
And he gave a talk because I was going to say that's also a weird niche of like murder ballads.
Oh, yeah.
Like Knoxville Girl, Down in the Willow Garden.
Yeah.
There's a great one.
Pretty Polly. Yeah.
By he mentioned all the names. There's a great one by Nick Cave where it's him and Kylie Minogue. It's from the 80s and it's... What is that? God.
Amethyst Kia, now I know her name, has and I cannot remember it, but I heard her play it at Bristol Rhythm and Roots one year, and it was like a rewritten version of Pretty Polly. And same thing, just like subverting the...
I think she may have done it at the opening for the Chris Thiele show.
Oh, yeah, that's possible.
So the song from Nick Cave, do you like Nick Cave?
I'm not familiar.
He's an odd dude. He's an Australian dude. Now, he's switched to doing more like score for film and stuff now.
Okay.
But he's got this really weird look and really weird...
Gotcha.
He's written one of the most... God, now I'm going to blank on it. He's written one of the most like romantic songs. And now I'm Into My Arms. I think it's fucking brilliant. And he's a brilliant dude and a great writer. But he wrote this song, Where the Wild Roses Grow. And it's a murder ballad that he wrote in the 80s with Kylie Minogue, who was known for being a pop star. That she was from Australia too. And then she, like 20 years later, re-recorded on one of her albums and did like an acoustic. And it's beautiful.
Wow.
But then it's also a murder ballad.
Right.
About a dude murdering a woman.
Dude murdering his ex-lover.
But hearing that dude talk about that, the Rhiannon Giddens show, I was like, God damn, I like those songs.
I know, and I do too. Like I still like so that's
it's such a weird niche of the old timey music.
Exactly. The show that we played at St. John's Episcopal, my friend Andrea and I, we sang Knoxville Girl a cappella, and we didn't even get through it because I think we had practiced this and like we knew what we were going to do and we're taking it very seriously, and then we just started laughing we got to like the part where she's like throwing her in the river, and we both we just look at each other in front of this audience, this like relatively big audience for like us, right? Like, because we're not professionals, and we barely made it through the song because we were laughing so hard. And it wasn't like, this is hilarious. It was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what? How has this song survived so long? And holy shit, we were taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and after that point, I stopped singing it. I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I can't.
I think that's what it is. Like, I'm never going to sing pretty. That's what it was. The song he wrote was called "I'm Never Going to Sing Pretty Polly Again." And the funniest part was he mentioned Knoxville Girl, and everybody went, "Whoa!"
Yeah, it's like, no.
And then the second time he mentioned it, silence.
It was like,
I was like, oh yeah, the people didn't get that part.
They didn't remember that one.
Well, that's the funniest thing about like Republican lawmakers making Copperhead Road the Tennessee state song. It's like, you do realize that's an anti-government song, right?
Well, I think they don't. They're just the don't tread on that. Honestly, don't tread on me should be emblematic of all the hypocrisy of the.
Okay, here's more homework. You're the teacher. See, I'm doing the
okay. Yeah,
I actually love giving homework on this because I'm a fucking giant nerd. Have you ever listened to Scott Miller?
Yes.
Okay, he has a song, "The Rain," which I think is one of, because he was like he was like some kind of weird like history and English major in college. Like that's what his degrees are in. And that song is it's a Civil War song about the warning of keep your powder dry. And it is a beautifully literate song that seems like an old-timey song to me. And he had, I don't think it's ever been released on an album. It's on a live album. Just him and a guitar. He's one of those guys I'm like, that motherfucker. And it's the weird shit of like the song "I Made a Mess of This Town." It's like leaving this town with a 50-cent lighter and a whiskey buzz. And there's a guy, Nelson, on WDVX who named his blog that. I was like, that's great.
The thing. Yeah.
That's a great, like I did a music column for online publication here. And I pulled a lyric from V-Roy's, the band he was in, called "Ain't No Time to Sit Down." And that was a lyric in the song. I was like, that sounds like a good title for a music column.
Yeah.
"Ain't No Time to Sit Down." Like, Scott Miller's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
Like, his shit, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He's the only member of the V-Roy's I haven't met because I don't think I'd be able to talk to him.
And
we're like friends
fangirl.
on Facebook, and he follows me on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
I was like, and I've had opportunities to meet him. I was like, I don't think I'm ready yet.
Yeah.
I was like, because I'm going to probably just go goo-goo. And he also does not like talking about the V-Roys. And there's part of me as the big dude who wants to shake his hand, pull him in. It's like, I need you to understand how much that shit means to me.
He's like, okay,
that's
man.
great that it is painful to you.
Yeah.
But I cannot explain to you that album, Just to Add Ice, is probably the album I've heard the most in my life. And how many heartbreaks it's gotten me through. Because it's a brilliant album.
Yeah.
And that's great that you don't like it. But fuck you.
That's great that you don't like it.
It doesn't, because I heard somebody say this once before, and they're like, there's a point where it doesn't belong to him anymore.
Yeah.
It belongs to everybody who has.
That's how all art is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You've released it into the world, and it has to be its own little baby now.
But that song, "The Rain," every once in a while I listen to it because I'm like, this is like a perfect story song. Like, it's
okay, I'm going to have to listen to that. I'm going to have to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're really going to shift. I don't know. You may want a shot of whiskey when I ask this next question.
Great, fantastic.
Because we're going to take another dynamic left turn. So, how do you feel about the public education system going on now?
Oh, that like which part? Yeah, for real.
I mean, it seems
education.
like every week there's something new.
I just truly wish they would forget about us. Just like stop using us as a political pawn to show how much you're like owning the left, and just please let us do our jobs. That's Bill Lee, if you're listening.
Fuck him.
Think he listens?
Fuck him. Fuck Mayor Kane. I'll say it for you. Fuck him. Fuck Mayor Kane.
Yeah.
It bothers me that Mayor Kane does so many photo ops with like children's literacy.
Well, because we have weirdly a city and a county mayor, and the county, because our city and our county schools are all combined under county, that means it's the county mayor that's in charge of it. So that means Mayor Kane will always, well, whoever the weird, it's always going to be the weird one, right? Whoever the county mayor is going to be the weirdo.
Yeah.
Who's going to be like the one showing up at our school, like giving nonsense speeches.
But it's, I mean, I hate to ask the dumb question of, is it hard to keep going?
It's only hard to keep going, and as far as like, there are literally times where I'm talking to my colleagues and my friends about like, is public ed even going to exist in like 10 years? Like, especially now, like, it just seems like the ball has started rolling so quickly on, like, ever since I was a kid, and probably before then, but at least since the 90s, like, Republicans have been trying to prove that public schools are failing, and they will do anything that they can to show. So the first push was standardized tests to try and prove that like we're dumb, and now it's like with vouchers and like the third grade retention law that's going to like make a bunch of parents who have enough money pull their kids out and go to private school so they can advance to the next grade level. Like, they're doing all these little things, like literally taking money away from public schools, like public money away from public schools, and giving it to private Christian schools, and like watching our little budget get smaller and smaller and smaller every year, watching us like lose positions every year. And that's what is hard about going.
They're doing all that. I'm telling you something you already know. But they're doing all that. They're pulling the money away and then pointing at going, see, that's why it's failing.
Yes, exactly.
See, it's failing. See, it's failing. So we need to do this over here.
So that's why we need to invest in private schools and charters.
Charter schools. Yeah. Because we need to invest in that. And what they're not saying now after that is because those people are putting money in our pockets.
Right, exactly. Oh, no, it's all lining pockets. It's all bullshit. It's the same reason that we have the testing platforms that we do, and that we have to take as many standardized tests as we do. It's because Pearson has like the legislators by like their throats, because they're like, we give you so much money, make this test mandatory, make it illegal for kids not to take the test. Oh, now make it illegal for kids to move on to the next grade because they have to pass this test. Like, it's
last minute with no notice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying I'm fucking smart. I'm not saying I'm ahead of the curve. I'm not saying that shit. But I've been yelling for 20 years. The two biggest issues in this country that could fix this country are tackling wealth inequality and funding public education.
Oh yeah.
Because that makes a smarter voting base, but that's not what the fucking Republicans want.
That's not what they want.
And it's like, they're bitching about China and all this shit, and I was like, you know why? Because they fund their education, you dumbass. Like, but you don't want that. You want, it's the same thing with the abortion thing of, there's someone who put to me, and they're like, no, they want to force more poor people into having kids because that's your workforce.
That's your workforce, and it keeps them poor. And it keeps you from, if you don't have health insurance and you don't have enough money to like get out, then you're going to have to take the little jobs and
your education system is going to suck because we want to keep you dumb.
And like, it's going to suck because you've put so much strain on a certain population of people who are trying to make ends meet, and then you make them go to school, and I'm like trying to teach you about a misplaced modifier, and I'm like, oh, also you are asleep because you work 2 jobs, and like you take care of your family, and like also your parents are terrible to you. Okay, well, do your best.
Or you only have a single parent house.
Yeah, exactly. Household. There's like so many things that I have zero control over, and I'm just like, I don't feel bleak on the day-to-day. Like, when I am in my classroom and I'm in school, I feel good. Like, I like my day-to-day job. It's like when I zoom out and like I start getting nervous about the future, and like, will this be a job that I can even have in the future? Because I will not work at a charter school. Like, if we turn, because it's already happened to Chattanooga. Chattanooga doesn't have, they have public schools, but nobody goes there, and the people who have to go to public schools are like the ones who can't afford, who don't have the literal physical mobility to like make it to get to a charter school that's outside of their neighborhood, and or like they don't get accepted because charter schools, like, you have to get like accepted to these whatever lotteries or however they let people in. And I'm really scared that Knoxville will start to turn into that. We only have like one charter school now. Emerald Academy, I think, is the only one that we have so far. And it's just like,
I did not know that was a charter school.
yeah.
Which sucks because Emerald.
Oh yeah,
is,
Emerald. Like
is
I'm
great.
not begrudging Emerald at all.
I'm not even talking about the academy.
Yeah.
So here's a fun fact for you. I'm telling fucking stories. I swear I'm on topic. I was in one of the first programs for Emerald when Steve Diggs was still running out of the basement of the church, because it was a summer basketball program at Christenberry to get troubled youths off the streets, and I was one of those troubled youths, and I was in those first Emerald youth.
Yeah.
When for football, there was a lot of times where we would have our pregame meals in the basement of the Emerald Church, and Steve Diggs would be the one driving the bus for us. Like, I remember the humble beginnings of the Emerald, and seeing them do the schools and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same thing with the magnet schools. Can I give an outsider's perspective?
Sure.
And please talk me off the ledge, see if I'm wrong. I struggle with a lot of what I see in the magnet schools, because what I see is lily white rich people being able to give their kids cred for going into a school with a bunch of poor people. But the problem I've had is the white people I've seen who have gone to those places, I've seen them talk black to little black kids. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You don't get to do... No.
Yeah.
Hey, get your kid and get the fuck out of here. Like,
I can't speak to like magnet schools, because I also feel like magnet schools are getting kind of like slaughtered. I mean, like for whatever reason, like obviously magnet schools programs happen to like integrate schools and to like draw those like the kids from other neighborhoods in, but like the kids who are already in the neighborhood also got to take advantage of those programs, right? And so magnet schools, I think, are kind of on their way out, because they're being like, first of all, I think people finally noticed that magnet schools, not all magnet schools, but a lot of magnet schools ended up with like a tiered system, right? Just like you're talking about, like the people who are in the magnet program, they have one experience, and people who are not in the magnet program have a very different experience with that school.
I didn't realize there were two.
So
I thought it was overarching.
I think every school is a little bit different, but I think like people have tried to like fix that, and then other people have tried to just like break it, so they have like, so that they can bring in other things. Like Knox County is moving to an academy system, which we don't fully understand yet.
We talked about Fulton Academy last time.
Yeah, these academies are just, I'm just like, my brain is so broken from talking about it, that particular aspect, that Central will be doing it for the first time this year. So after that, I can talk about like what it's actually like. But basically, I don't know what I was talking about. All right, magnet schools.
Magnet schools. You said magnet schools you think are on the way out.
I think they're kind of on their way out, at least in this region, because the state and other governments keep coming in and like trying to tell them how to structure their school.
Okay.
But what you're saying about like people getting credit for like being in those neighborhoods or like going to schools like that, I think that's in general. Yeah, there's a thing there. Okay, here we go. That's with teachers too. Like teachers, white teachers, predominantly white teachers, who they do the Freedom Riders thing.
Well, I was going to say God.
It's not so much the kids that I'm worried about, because the kids will be kids and whatever. They're going to appropriate. They're going to do stupid shit. They're going to say things that they shouldn't say. But it's when teachers.
There's the age thing. I was going into Dangerous Minds.
Dangerous
Michelle
Minds. Right.
Pfeiffer turns her chair around backwards.
And she's cool, and she's like
she gets
street
hip with the kids
now. Yeah.
Wearing her leather jacket.
Yeah. But like I know a handful. I wouldn't say lots, but I know a handful of white teachers who want to teach in schools like Central or Fulton or AE, because they would never admit it, because I don't think they're aware of it, but they've got this white savior complex, and they want to be. The way they post on social media and the way they talk at like these PDs where we're all together with like teachers from other schools is like very patronizing, and it makes me furious. Because they think they have the key to this neighborhood, to this group of kids. And like I teach at Central, but I also went to Central, and like Fountain City is a weird place, right? There's like the weird like 1950s small community, like very white middle class kind of thing, and then you've got like all the kids that come from this neighborhood and come from who don't necessarily fit that exact aesthetic, but still like there are there are a couple teachers that I know who have passed through Central, and they would have never said it out loud, but I always got the vibe, the way that they talked about their students. I was like, you're here to save them, and I need you to get the fuck out of here, because like that makes me so wetty.
The teachers that will use the phrase, well, I have a black friend.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. They never say it, but it's like,
I would have
no, my best
voted
friend's
for
black.
Obama
Yeah,
for the
third time. I know.
Yeah.
These people, I'm just like, you got to go in there and just teach because you like teach, like, that's awesome if you're helping, if you're like in a community that like doesn't have access to a lot of great teachers, but you can't go in there with the mindset of, I'm gonna be the one.
So as the dude who grew up in the black community, I hate to keep saying that because I feel like I'm an asshole.
Trying to get you some street cred?
No, fuck, I have the street cred. I don't need any of that shit. I fucking love watching white people when a black person enters the room and them just like, almost like,
right, or like trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, it's like, you realize that's a fucking person, right?
Right.
Why are you treating that person any different than they're like,
yeah.
And because there was a guy, fuck, I'm going to tell stories because I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Sure.
That's all right. There was a guy I went to high school with, DeMarcus. I'll say his first name. I won't say his last name. But he was a black man. And I think it's junior English. So I'm going to apologize to my junior English teacher. She did fail me. So she was kind of a pain in the ass. But my buddy Josh, who was a white guy, would come in and go, hello, DeMarcus, my African-American friend. Mm-hmm. How are you today? Like, that's how he would talk to DeMarcus. And at some point, DeMarcus walked in, and I went, you fucking white, hunky, cracker motherfucker. You're still in our, we come after you. I just started ripping on him like I was a black man talking to a white man. And he just dipped and went right into it. And he started calling me the most foul terms for like I was a black person. And we would do that until one of us broke. And it was the greatest thing in the world.
But you were doing this to DeMarcus?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were doing it to the other white guy. I was
no,
what the fuck are you doing, Jody?
It was because
right. You're switching the roles.
I'm just like, fuck it. I just want to fuck around with my friend. But the other guy was just so awkward.
They're
like that. And everybody around was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And we would just keep going until we could not keep from laughing.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I was like, because I'm not treating DeMarcus like he is a fragile person.
Right. Or like you're afraid you're going to say something
saving.
wrong. Yeah.
He doesn't need saving.
Yeah.
He's a dude. Like, he's my friend. Like, I don't know how to put it. So it is weird. I have had those friends that have taught and heard them talk. Like, you realize they're just kids, too.
Right.
They're kids. Just treat them like kids.
Yeah. Truly.
What the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it is weird because like I know I'm part of the problem in some ways when it comes to like, like it would be, I wish my students had black teachers, like, cause at my school, like we're not an all white staff, but we're a pretty white staff.
Yeah. And
like my students deserve to see somebody that like can be a role model. And like I can in some respects, but like and they like troll me all the time and like they'll try to like get me, right? Like they'll try to like, make me uncomfortable or whatever. Yeah. And, I play along and at this point in my career, like I'm comfortable, but like the first few years I was like, whoop, I don't know what I can say. I don't know how I can be. I'm running on white guilt here. Like, I don't know how to like,
there's an album title, Running on White Guilt.
I am powered by white guilt at this point. And over the years, obviously, like when these people become obviously not your peers because they're your students, but they're like fellow community members, right?
Yeah.
Like we are living, I don't live in Fountain City anymore, but I live 10 minutes from Fountain City. And like a lot of kids who go to Central came from Christenberry and Whittle Springs. And like they came from this neighborhood as well. So I feel like much more relaxed and like I'm not doing that thing where I'm like, oh, don't say the right thing, don't say the wrong thing, like make sure you're treating everybody right but not too equal because then you look weird and you're overanalyzing and you're not treating people like human beings anymore. But I don't remember where I was going with this, but I don't remember what I was saying.
That's okay. Hey, now you're the
And
one.
now
No,
I'm
just
doing
kidding.
it.
No.
But
That's you bring up a little part. One other thing that
a part of the problem. Yeah. That was basically it. Like
one other thing I've thought for
not
years
their
is like,
perfect teacher.
if you want to be a police officer, you should have to live in the neighborhood you're policing. Because that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't go down that rabbit hole of just. But it's
Yeah.
like today, Mayor Kane tweeted out his fucking stupid dog whistle bullshit about like, I'm going to stand up and I am against radical government spending by the Democrats. And I just looked
It's
at
like,
it.
what's spending? Where's the money? Do you guys spend money on us?
Hold on. So I went and found actual reporting. I was like, your side spent 44% of the budget just on defense.
Just on police officers, right?
No, defense.
Oh, okay.
The Department of Defense,
like
not even police.
Not nationally.
And that doesn't even count Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Oh, the Department of Defense budget. I was like, it's 45%. I was like, and how many of it are contracts that are tanks that we no longer use that are being in a field? I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. If we took 10% of that and gave it to education,
Yeah.
it would change the game in this country.
It's all show. It's all
Yeah,
pageantry
it
because
is.
they always talk about like defunding PBS. So I was like, PBS takes 0.02% of your budget or something like that. Like,
I'll state this
leave
here.
Sesame Street alone.
This is the greatest fact I've ever learned, which is, well, we need to defund Planned Parenthood. I was like, Planned Parenthood
Is not funded.
is 0.05% of the national budget. 0.03%. No, I think it's actually like maybe it's 0.5% of the national budget, and it's 0.03%. It goes of their funding goes to abortion, and not one penny from the government dollars goes to abortion.
Yeah.
So you are lying.
Oh yeah, and
You are
you're just like
lying.
allowed to do that now. So it's
Yeah.
like it feels so bleak and like futile to be like you're lying, and people are
Yeah.
like shrug, like
Yeah.
okay, well stop the lie. I've already put it out there. Like you can't stop the lie now.
Well, and
it's
that's why I
gone too
love
far.
people like Jon Stewart and Jason Kander who are stepping up and going, 44% of our budget is to defense, and you have people currently in the military that are on welfare,
Yeah, yeah,
that are on food stamps.
yeah. It's
We have how many homeless veterans? Like, it's absolutely insane.
yeah.
It's absolutely insane. But you would say, well, no, we need to fund the Defense Department. It's like, we also need to take care of the people who fucking fought for us. It's like, you dickheads. Like, that's another rabbit. I can't go. That's my. Can't go down that rabbit hole. So
It's okay.
we have touched upon this, and I think I understand it, but I would love to hear you maybe expound upon it more about the charter versus public versus private school thing now. Because in my mind, private school is always just almost like operated outside of the county standard.
Yeah, it does.
Is that right?
That is correct. So the way that it is like the potential for it to be integrated in the way that it's kind of already has been, and like I'm not completely up to date on like what legislation has passed and like what is law of the land now and everything, but like the thing that Republicans keep trying to do is offer, because in their minds the way that they've portrayed it, all public schools are failing students should have access to quality education, and in their minds quality education means private. So vouchers are the thing that will make basically like blur those lines between public and private, because with a voucher, a kid applies for a voucher, they get a certain amount of money to take to a private school, which means that public money is probably going, at least in Knoxville, because we don't really have any private schools that are not Christian or not religiously affiliated. That public money will be going to a religiously affiliated school. Also, vouchers never cover all of tuition. It's not like a full ride scholarship that you get when you get a voucher. It's just like a percentage of, or like a lump sum of money that will go towards your private school tuition, which means it's only going to benefit the kids who can already afford part of a private school tuition.
Okay.
So not a single kid who's like has free or reduced lunch is going to get a voucher and then like actually go to a private school. Like they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Another thing you need if you're going to take advantage of a voucher is a parent who's going to drive you to that public or that private school, because no public bus or no school bus is going to take you to that private school. So that's why vouchers are bad.
Okay.
We lose money, and that money goes to a Christian school that only benefits rich kids.
Yeah, that's the weird was it here? I don't think it was here. Is it Oklahoma? We're the first charter school that is actually a Christian school.
So like that one is
approved, or how? I don't understand.
I also can't remember where that landed. If it had been approved and then it got shot down, or like if it was in the process of being approved. But yet that Oklahoma is the place where
it was Oklahoma.
Potentially, they either do have or will have their first like charter school, publicly funded charter school that is Christian.
Publicly funded is the problem I have with that.
Right, exactly. Like Christian schools, sure, go to a Christian school. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. You know what also should be publicly funded? Public school.
Right, exactly.
It's in the fucking name.
Exactly. And like even public schools, like there's all these fees that kids still have to pay when they go to a public school. Yeah. Like nothing bad happens if they don't pay the fee, but like every year I have to do my little spiel and put it in the syllabus. Like technically everybody has to pay a $10 English fee, and like maybe 3 kids pay it, and it's not, the end of the world, but like that's the money we use to buy books. That's the money that we use. Like that money goes directly to our department so we can buy like supplies and technology and all that sort of stuff, because the district only gives us like a teeny little sliver of money.
Well, that's what I love there. I think it's a lot of basketball players, some football players do this, where they'll go into a school and be like, anybody who owes anything on lunch money, I'm paying for everything.
So
I'm
that is
taking
a good
that
thing
to zero.
About at Central, and I can't remember if it was for the whole district at any point, but Central, everybody has free lunch, because a certain percentage of our student body qualifies, so then we qualified for everybody to have free lunch. But it also means, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, the information that the district needs or that the state needs for us to be classified as Title I, which would give us more money and like more support systems. That information comes from the paperwork that kids fill out to apply for free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
And because everybody gets free and reduced lunch, nobody fills out that paperwork, which means we don't have Title I status anymore.
Okay.
Because they don't have that information, and so that we lost Title I status because.
What is Title I?
Title I is like I'm pretty sure it's a federal designation. I'm pretty sure it's federal. It's not state. But it's a federal designation, basically just like a school that has, I think it's a variety of factors that helps determine whether or not it's Title I. I think it's it's mostly based on like the social or the socioeconomic status of the student body, but it might also have something to do with like academics and like test scores and something like that. But I think for the most part, it's like student income or like family income.
Okay.
Because it is like it's supposed to be like extra money, extra programming, just like there's like stuff you get when you're Title I.
Right. Because the community can't.
Right, because it's like it's supposed to make up. It's kind of like
it
is a good Title I is a good thing. Like you kind of want to be Title I. Some schools don't want to be Title I because it looks bad, because it makes them look poor and sad, or they think that's what the stereotype is. But like for us, we're like, please give us Title I.
Yeah, grow the fuck up.
Yeah, give us.
So I was looking up because I was like, I remember when I said that about the basketball players, I was like, oh yeah, LeBron started a school, and it says it's a public elementary school, but then I get down here at the bottom.
I think it might be a public charter.
I think it's public charter because it says annual cost of the school reportedly is around $8 million, which are some perceived to be a burden on taxpayers living in the comparatively low-income school district. Parents who meet the criteria to enroll the children at the school but were unable to do so due to the school's lottery system are especially frustrated with the tax increase. So that sounds like a charter school.
Yeah, that
does not sound like a public school.
If you're using a lottery to get in, yeah.
Then maybe Wiki needs to update to say charter.
Well, that's the thing about charter is like technically it's public. Like technically, because it's getting public money, like I mean it's a charter school because it is I don't even remember like what technically makes it a charter school, but charter schools all get public money.
Yeah. And from what I understand, don't they have their individual board of directors?
Yeah, I'm less familiar with the actual structure, like the internal structure of charter schools. But usually it's like companies, right? Like it's like there's one that I had a classmate from Breadloaf who worked at Uncommon Charter Schools, which is mostly in New York, like New York City. But it's like a chain, right? It's like a chain of charter schools. And did not sound like fun to work there or be a student there. It's very strict, very militaristic in like their disciplinary style and like teaching style. Like to teach in a charter school, it's just like a whole other world that I've never really been on the inside of, but I know lots of people who have. And it's just like not a whole lot of room for like neurodivergence or like flexibility or like disability. If you don't fit within that rigid structure and that rigid kind of like militaristic, like call and response and like, there's all these weird little terms that they use, like making sure your eyes are tracking the teacher, making sure like you're like responding verbally and like non-verbally with all the teacher's commands. And it's just like,
the fuck?
Yeah, so this particular teacher that I knew who worked in Uncommon, she said, and this may be different now, this was like in 2017 probably, or 2016, all of her lesson plans had to be printed out, detailed like verbatim, like what she was going to say, and hanging on a clipboard by the door, and everything had to have a timestamp. And the expectation was that when an administrator walked in, they could pick up the clipboard, look at the lesson plan, look at the clock, and see exactly that. Right. So like there's literally no room for accommodating for like a student that you didn't anticipate needing more time, or like somebody not understanding something, or like maybe we moved a little quicker because we realized that like there's just like no flexibility in, I think, most charter schools. And again, I can't speak for all charter schools. I've never taught in a charter school. I'm not an expert, but when I talk to students and teachers,
we need more middle managers getting involved.
Just more people like,
man. Okay. Well,
so I will never work in a charter school on principle, and also because it sounds like a miserable work environment.
Well, but I also know that, like, coming from sports, how many poor black kids they would take, and they were like, "Oh, they're going to Brentwood Academy outside of Nashville." It's like, "Huh, Brentwood Academy has a really good football team." Oh, it's because they have 20 kids that they are busing from an hour and a half away to come there. That boosters are paying for them to go to that private school or whatever.
Well, another thing with charters is like, and I do believe that like I don't even know if originally, but I think there are people who work at charters who really believe, like truly do believe in them. Like, we are giving this community a second chance. Like, we're whatever. I think it's problematic that they're starting with the assumption that like this community needs a second chance and they can't just like take advantage of the public school. But I do think there are people who like went through charters and had a good experience like as a student, and now they want to be on the other side. I do think that exists. But where was I going with this? What ends up happening is like you end up further segregating schools. So you go into like a predominantly black neighborhood, you set up a charter, you take all the black students from the public schools that are like relatively integrated. Like Knox County is not perfect by any means. There are some schools that like are almost all white and some schools that are almost all black. But for the most part, like a lot of schools are pretty.
Take the ass off of schools.
Yeah.
Wait, I guess you could say elementary, middle.
Yeah,
too,
if we're counting like elementary, middle, first counting middle schools.
I'm thinking if you're saying high school,
yeah. But like if we take because you target those kids, right? You market, you sell your charter school because you want their money, or you want the public money, because the amount of money you get is dependent on how many students you get. So even the students aren't paying the money, like you're getting that public money from somebody else based on that money, all this stuff. So then you're like, taking all the black students, putting them in school. Now you got an all black school, and like maybe they are getting benefits that they wouldn't have gotten at their public school, but also now have an all black school. Like it's just like,
if you really want your brain fried, there was a point when I was in middle school where Knox County schools had the great idea of that they were going to build a mega school on World's Fair Park.
Whoa, I didn't know about this.
And they were going to shut down AE, Rural, Fulton, and Central. And all of those kids were going to go to that school. And I would have been in the first graduating class.
What was the benefit? What was the logic behind this?
Money.
How money?
I don't know.
Who's making money off of a big public school?
But it was just so fucked up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the parents got involved and were just like, what the fuck are you doing? Because you're also...
Now all these kids have to travel extra far.
And also you're demolishing any pride in the school.
Uh-huh.
Because I think it was parents who they had gone to Fulton. And they're like, now you're going to build this Knoxville High School or whatever the fuck this thing's going to be called. And it's also, I think the argument too was like, so you're going to take the 4 poorest high schools. 4 poorest schools.
And you're going to make giant class sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to, and at that point, the gang violence too. Because even when they closed down Rural, like there were kids in Rural who were West Side, and they sent some of them to Austin East, which was East Side, and you had issues.
Yeah.
Like, I still remember one guy who was on the football team who wore his Rural Letterman jacket for his last year at Fulton because he refused to wear a Fulton.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's a kid who has pride in his school.
Well, that's the other thing with charters is like they're no longer, there's no such thing as like zones anymore, right? Like you just go to the charter that you want to go to. And so now, yeah, that little community center, because that's what a lot of schools are.
Yeah.
They're little community centers. Now that community is just like completely lost that anchor. And that's what's going to happen with this new academy system that Knox County is implementing, because their long-term goal is for each school to have a unique set of academies, whatever they are, whatever like career focus they are. And eventually kids will be able to go to the school that has the academy that they want to be in, which is, yeah, you're eliminating zones. You're making sure that the kids who don't have transportation will not be able to go to the school that they want to go to, instead of just investing equally in all these schools and like making sure all these schools have good arts programs, good engineering programs, good music programs. And instead you're just going to like water it down. And also it's led by Ford. Ford, who makes cars, is in charge of this academy system.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know
it's
that.
called, I always want to call it Ford Not Gonna Lie, because it's NGL, and that's what all this stuff, it's Ford Next Generation Learning is what it stands for. But every time I see the posters for it, it looks like Ford Not Gonna Lie.
Well, it's the weird thing of like...
And it makes me, oh my God, so fucking mad.
Before it was get kids educated so they can go out into the workforce. Then it was get kids educated so they can go off to college. And now we're in this weird time where it's like, you don't know what the fuck.
Right.
Is
Get kids educated so they can do, I don't know.
You get your high
everything.
school degree, you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And I know I got no dog in this fight. I ain't got no kids.
Right.
I ain't got...
But you live in this community. You want to be surrounded by a bunch of dumb people, or people who can't work, or like people who have been like totally screwed by the system.
And I go back up to Fulton and talk to the kids in like the design program. And every one of them, I was like, learn on your own.
Yeah.
You may not have to go to college. If you can learn what the hell to do. I was like, there are 14-year-olds who are better. It's a different game now.
Yeah.
But I was saying this like 10 years ago. It's like, there are 14-year-olds who are better at coding than 30-year-olds who've been doing coding for 15 years. Because that's all they do. And they enjoy it. So maybe they don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
Maybe they barely need to graduate from high school. It's like, if they can do the work, let them do the fucking work. Like, but yeah, getting rid of art, getting rid of music, getting rid of all that shit.
Yeah. It's just like, and those are the classes for a lot of kids, not necessarily art and music, but also like auto shop and carpentry and like all the vocational classes and the CTE classes. And like that's the reason some kids keep coming to school every day. Like they fucking hate every other part of their day, but that one teacher or that one class, that one activity is like why they're there. And like, that's fine. Like, and I recognize that like nobody's coming to school for my English class. Like, I'm not the reason that kids are walking in the door, but they do have to go through me or one of my colleagues at some point, because they all have to take 4 years of English. And like, I can be there to allow them to explore a bunch of stuff instead of forcing them to choose a career path their like sophomore year of high school that they're going to be locked into for the rest of their, time in high school. And then what? Like, high school is just supposed to be like, keep them safe, keep exposing them to new things,
Yeah.
right? Like, sure, they might not master the algebra 2 standards by the time they graduate, but like they'll know like numeracy. They'll have a brain for like,
You
doing
know what
basic
else
stuff.
I've never needed? The standards of algebra 2
Sure.
as an adult. Are
Sure.
you out of your fucking mind? Like, I think about that all the time. It's
Yeah.
like I got bumped up from basic to standard science, and I struggled because the teacher did not like me.
Mm-hmm.
She was I don't know why, she had a thorn in her side that I got bumped up this is before block.
Okay, so you were like in the middle of a semester, basically.
Yeah, I was in
or middle of
basic, and
school
I
year.
got bumped up.
Yeah.
Because the basic teacher is one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Mr. Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got bumped up, and that teacher just had a hard on for
Mm-hmm.
me. And to the point of like, I'm a big dude who played football, and I didn't like dissecting animals. It made me sick.
Oh,
it
yeah.
made me feel like I was going to pass out. And she made fun of me.
Yeah, that's shit.
A 40-something-year-old woman made
Yeah.
fun of a 15-year-old kid who was being vulnerable and saying,
Yeah.
possibly getting picked on by everybody in the fucking class. And she was like, no, you have to be in here and do this.
Yeah.
And as an adult now, I'm like, why the fuck did I have to
Why
be
did I
there
have to
and
do this?
that?
No.
I'm a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that shit.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking waste of everyone's time. And also, probably her frustration of getting hard with me. It's like, what are we doing here? As an adult, it's hard not to look back and go, that's pretty fucked up. That's pretty fucked up, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to have, and I feel very lucky that I teach English because, like, no, you don't need to know the plot of Hamlet in order to, like, be a functioning adult. But you do need to be able to, like, read and, like, and I know, like, technically,
Comprehension.
Yeah,
Comprehension.
you need to be able to comprehend and appreciate and, like, deconstruct an argument and see when somebody's trying to screw you over, and like you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and make your own arguments and be able to write and communicate and like hold your own. Like, I feel very lucky that I think my skills are applicable. I'm sure math teachers also think their skills are applicable, like outside of like actually knowing how to do a formula, right? Like kids' brains are like, it's doing the problem solving, right? It's like, even if they don't know how to do the quadratic formula by the time they leave high school, they've like grappled with, logic, right? Like that's what math is. Math is a bunch of logic, but like instead of statements, we have like numbers that
I
you
still
input.
use
So.
an equation from Algebra 1,
Yeah.
which is figuring out a percentile. I did it
Oh, yeah.
today to clap back at Mayor Kane because I was like, I wanted to figure out what the percentage was, and I did the little this over this equals X over 100. I did that on a little Post-it note to figure that shit out.
Yep.
And it's like I still use that, but I think it's some of the stuff in like Algebra 2. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind, man?
Yeah, and definitely some of that stuff is there for you, like, just in case you change your mind and you want to be an engineer. Here's the stuff. I know you probably don't want to. But
Here's
here it
why
is.
I'm also a troubling student, not defending the science teacher, because that one I literally do not understand.
Yeah.
But my math teacher, I do understand, because he would give us homework of like 100 questions.
Yeah.
And I would do 20 and get him right and go, that's good enough.
That's good enough. Oh, I did that.
Like, what the fuck are you
I
talking
literally
about?
wrote random numbers for like half of my math homework because they would like spot check it. So I would do like 3 to 4 problems like of each type to make sure like I knew what I was doing. And then I would just like look at the other answers to make sure I wasn't like writing something that didn't look like what it was supposed to look like. And I was just like random numbers. Here you go.
But yeah, like 100 algebra problems.
Yeah.
It's like, if you get 20 right.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, that's also the teacher that, did I tell you about my algebra teacher?
I don't know.
time?
I don't remember.
So he was a giant man. He was a former giant black man, Mr. Baldwin. Former linebacker for the Chicago Bears.
Damn. Holy shit.
Within the first 2 weeks, he's like, oh, you play football? You should be able to do 100 push-ups right now. You should be able to do 100 push-ups every day. I tell you what, if you do 100 push-ups right now, I'll give you a C in this class and you never have to do homework. So I start doing push-ups, and I'm like 13 and a fat kid. So I get to like 40, I'm like, oh, God, I'm dying.
He's
I'm
like,
also
okay, now you got to do math.
He threw a piece of chalk in my mouth because I fell asleep in class. There were always rumors that he hung a freshman by his ankles out of the emergency exit.
I think every school has a teacher who's rumored to have hung a freshman.
It was always
out by
he
his
hates
ankles.
freshmen. He did this. He did hate freshmen.
Oh, I hate freshmen.
Oh, I think there was only 2 or 3 of us in a class of like 12.
Yeah.
And man, he picked on the 2 or 3 of us a lot. I was like, what the?
Yeah, I have always said I will never leave Central until they try and make me teach freshmen.
He was also a bodyguard for Martin Luther King.
Holy
Jr.
crap.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
That's incredible.
He was a big dude, Mr. Baldwin. I would love to see him now and go, dude, what the hell?
And you like drop and you do 100?
No, I can't do 100. Yeah, you're mine.
I can do like 8. Yeah, I can do maybe 8 push-ups.
God. Okay, charter, private, academy. Do you know much about this 3rd grade? To explain to anybody who listens who's
I
not
can do a
there.
very basic rundown, but like I don't know if anything's changed recently because there has. Okay, so the 3rd grade retention bill. All 3rd graders have to take this standardized test because the testing company paid the politicians a lot of money to make it mandatory.
Cool.
So the 3rd grade retention bill is basically if a 3rd grader does not pass this specific TCAP test. TCAP is like just the acronym for the state test. The specific TCAP test, they say that it proves that they can't read and therefore they are not ready to move on to 4th grade. And they have a few options. They can do summer school, they can repeat 3rd grade, or they can I think there might be an option where they can do after school tutoring during their 4th grade year. They can like move on to 4th grade and do tutoring. I'm not sure about that one. Don't quote me on that one.
I think it is because I remember a paid aspect of it.
Yes, it was something.
Tour was like, fucking hell, man.
Well, also the problem is, and then the last choice is, which is the one I know the least about, is that you can appeal. So some people have there's like some website that you can go to, and I haven't looked at it. I don't know what it looks like or how successful people have been in appealing this, like basically the results of their kids' test. But like you were probably, anybody who's listening to this or anybody who's been interested has seen the posts of people being like, my daughter is a straight A student, can read, reads books for fun all the time, failed this test by 1 point, and now she might have to repeat 3rd grade. And basically, and another thing that people are criticizing is like the test doesn't actually test reading. Like it's like just another like language arts test. Another thing that's really wild about it is like for most of the other tests, or almost all state mandated tests that kids have to pass or just take, nobody has to pass any of these tests in order to move on to the next grade, right? Like we've had mandatory standardized tests since at least the 90s, and nobody's ever had to actually pass one. Sometimes they count for like 15% of your final grade, so it can be the difference between you passing and failing a class, but like you can fail it, or you can just like, you can fail it and still move on. With this one, and all those other tests are curved out the shit, right? Like, I need to talk to my math teacher friends again, but it's always a massive joke for the math test that they take in high school. I think this year they had to get 5 out of 50 questions correct in order to pass the test because it's curved so severely.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so
that blew this 3rd grade. I was going to say also with kids, hell with adults.
Yeah.
You could be great at learning and bad at taking tests.
Sure. That's a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's another option in all this.
Yeah.
Shit.
And the other post that I'm sure, or I hope people saw, was the school that got destroyed by a tornado.
Yeah.
Those kids still had to take the test and obviously didn't do great. So the 3rd grade test, to my knowledge, is not curved the way all these other state tests are. And so kids were making like what should have been like, if this was a regular old classroom test, making like what would have been a B on the test. But according to the way that the state scored it, it's technically not passing. So they don't pass.
Well, but I also feel like when I was in high school, I'm going to do high school for this though.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had like honors, standard / college preparatory, and basic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a polite way to say this. A lot of the people that were in basic were like learning disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like,
and that's what it's for. Like that's probably what that class was for.
But it felt like with all of them, the entire job of the class was to get us to learn so we could get the hell out of school.
Right.
Like it wasn't like retaining us.
Yeah.
They
did
just not like that.
Learn this to do well on the test, and then you can throw all that information
and
away.
not even like a curve, but I don't ever remember curves on any of our tests or anything like that. But it was always, the point was to get us the hell out of school.
Right. And
Get
like,
us out into the workforce.
the standardized tests truly show nothing. Like what standardized tests show is if you were looking at a huge swath of students, standardized tests can kind of show you trends, right?
Yeah.
They can be like, all right, from this year to this year, these kids generally did better or worse, or whatever. But what the state uses it for, and what lots of districts use it for, is like an individual student, right? So there's these two growth or two like achievement measures or like way that they measure the score on the test. There's growth and there's achievement. Achievement is like baseline, like there's a bar that's the same for everybody. If you get above that bar, like you have a certain percentage achievement. But at the same time, there's growth. So if you don't improve a certain amount from last year to this year, then you get a bad score on that one. So I don't know if you're thinking about this, but those two things are working against each other, right? If you're a high achiever, you're going to have zero growth. That's always going to hurt you. If you're a low achiever, you might have incredible growth, but you never make it above the arbitrary benchmark. And so, yeah, that's just like these tests are just like have always been used to punish students and teachers and make public schools look bad. And the only standardized test that like any of us really care about is the ACT, because that can help kids like get into college.
Yeah.
And like it's truly standardized, right? Like it's an actual test that is the exact same across the entire country. And like you can actually kind of use it to judge, like again, how good a kid is at taking tests, not how smart they are. But
one
like
thing I
you
would
can at
say
least
is
judge that.
When you take the ACT and you go to college, I took it twice.
Yeah.
One time I did really good in math and terrible in English.
Yeah.
And one time I did really good in English and terrible in math.
Uh-huh.
And there's part of me, even at that age, where I was like, can I not take the best of both?
Oh, you can't. Well, now maybe not when you were there. You couldn't. Now they do the super score where you take the best
some
of
kind
all.
of crazy like ACT was the SAT was the one with the big number.
Yeah.
ACT. It was actually more odd to do the ACT test when I was in school.
Oh, interesting.
It was more normal to do the SAT if I remember correctly. But it was something crazy like a 26 and a 14 versus like a 28 and a 13.
Yeah.
And it was just like, how are you not figuring? And it was also, I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
And for both of them, it's funny. I also took the ACT when I was in middle school, and I think I scored better then.
Yeah.
But on average, it was like a 19 and an 18.
Right.
But it was like, I was 17. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to take a remedial. Like, I'm gonna have to choose English or math.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up choosing math because I was like, I don't want to have to take English.
Well, now
because I was not a good writer back then. I didn't feel comfortable writing. I'm more comfortable with it now, but I was like, but math I can figure out.
Yeah.
So I'll take remedial math because I know I can get the hell out of it.
Well, now, and I'm thankful for this, like even the ACT and SAT are becoming less and less important because there's so many colleges, at least since the pandemic. I don't know if they'll start like asking for those scores again, but like schools have started to make that optional. Like if you don't have good test scores, don't send them to us. You're impress us in other ways, but like if you don't have good test scores, then don't put them in your application.
But yeah, back then you had to choose.
Yeah, you had to choose which one.
And I think it was even like I had to. I'm trying to remember if you had to pay to take the ACT or if I just had to pay to take the second one.
You have to pay
parents
now.
thought I was a little crazy taking it again. I was like,
no,
I'm going to try to do good in both.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it was the exact opposite.
Yeah. I took the ACT I think I took it 3 times. And yeah, it was just like negligible. Like like I did basically the same each time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's stop wasting our money.
It was funny as a kid. I was like, how did I do that bad?
Yeah.
The opposite one. I was like, it was just so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is so funny. Okay, we're going to take another left turn.
Okay.
I think we have exhausted the school system.
Sure.
It's fucked.
Oh, it's fucked.
It's fucked that Dolly Parton should have to send books to that's such a massive undertaking and it has to happen.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that she's doing it. God bless her. Saint Dolly. Put her on a dollar bill. Jesus, take the slave owners off there and put fucking her on there. So there's a couple of, I'm going to say 3 things that you mentioned.
Okay.
You wouldn't mind addressing.
Sure.
So this is fucking awkward as shit, and I'm not used to doing it like this. I don't have good segues.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
So I may, with all three of these, just say something to you.
That's fine. Rapid fire,
let you
like
go
sudden
off.
death. Yeah,
let
yeah.
you go off. And the first one will be Knoxville.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, first reaction to Knoxville. I love it. I hope I live here for a very, very long time.
Okay.
I think about my place and my position in Knoxville daily. As a kid, I couldn't wait to get out of Knoxville because, like, in my mind, there wasn't anything here, and like, it is drastically different now than it was, you know, when in the 90s and early 2000s. Now I'm become a
Imagine
curmudgeon.
going back to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, and I only say that because I have friends who moved here in like 2007, and then in like 2013 they're like, "Oh my God, there's been so much growth." I was like,
you don't even remember. You don't know what it was like when I was a kid. Yeah. My parents moved here in the 80s, so I have like whatever ancestral memories of Knoxville before then. But yeah, now I've become a curmudgeon, and now every time something changes, I'm like, "Get out! Get the fuck out of my city, you California Republicans and yeehaw!"
And Axel Logistics.
Yeah, and Axel Logistics. Stop tearing down buildings. Let the old shitty building stand. I like it. I liked how it was. I like that vacant lot. Let the vacant lot stay.
Oh, it bums me out. The brown appliance with that little building that was in the corner. Do you know what that was? That was an old Blue Circle restaurant.
Oh.
That it was glass with a countertop to where you could sit on stools and look out on the street. So when Colleen used to do the pop-ups downtown, and then before she had a permanent location, I actually sent her messages. I was like, please go in there.
Oh, yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Fix that up. It's an old kind of diner. Blue Circle is an old, like, it's like Crystal, but it's like more of a diner. We actually just talked about this the other night at my parents' house. There's one left, and it's in, I think, Johnson City.
Oh, that sounds right.
And, but this guy, I haven't had fast food in like 20 years. And I'm sitting there, I was like, well, this isn't really fast food because there's only one of them.
There's only one of them.
And my mom, like, it is fast food, honey. I was like, damn it. I want to eat it. I was like, I'm sure I did as a kid, but I don't remember it. But I was like, when they tore that down, I was like, a pox upon your family. Yeah.
Well, the one, and I have no reason to be mad about it because there was literally nothing in it. Right when you cross the, I guess it's the Henley Street Bridge, the old smoky, like, little deli that used to be over there. I noticed it's gone.
My dad was like, I want all the signage.
Yes. Oh, well, that's what I'm terrified for South Knoxville because, like, South Knoxville used to be, when I was a kid, so my dad, landscape architect, and sometimes when I was a little kid he would take me on his jobs, right? Like he would take me to the place where he was gonna like measure or whatever, meet with the client, and I remember going with him to South Knoxville every once in a while, and it was just like a different world. Like it seemed a little bit darker over there. It seemed like there were like clouds in South Knoxville that did not exist like on the other side of the
But then you
river.
get like half a mile off of Chapman Highway, and it's these beautiful neighborhoods.
Yeah, beautiful neighborhoods,
gorgeous
but also just like you're saying, cool signage, just like you're going back in time. And I'm so terrified that like as Knoxville continues to grow and like things change, right? Like I'm not a fool. I know like you can't keep the old bowling alley sign for the rest of eternity or whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, I was a little collector. My parents were, my mom said I was going to inherit pack rat disease, which is like basically, you know, that's what you'd call hoarding. But like, I was never going to become a hoarder. Right, exactly. No, like her family is like, I don't know if it's because of the Great Depression or what, but like, you know, you just hold on to like every little thing. And as a kid, I was just like, you know, I had shoe boxes full. Some of them are probably still under my childhood bed of like, this marble is special. This dead bug is special. This guitar pick, I've never played guitar, but this guitar pick is special. I found it on the sidewalk, right? Like I'm just like a little object collector, like a little rat. I've gotten better about it because logistically I just can't keep that much garbage, but like I like old stuff, you know, I like them. I like holding an object or seeing a building and being like, holy shit, you know, decades ago, like what did it used to look like, right? Like people walked across that threshold, like people like touched those walls, people, and I know it's a really romantic way to think about like buildings and stuff, but I don't know, I just like I just get sad every time I see a new thing, and I'm
As
just like,
someone who
stop fucking with it.
It's a bummer how much of the World's Fair that they have destroyed. It's a bummer that Bill Meyer Stadium got torn down. Like, there's so much history in this city that is just gone forever.
Well, forever.
And there's so many new people moving here that don't give a fuck about it.
They don't give. Well, the thing that always breaks, more recently has broken my heart because I didn't even know about it because I was just like dumb or ignorant, like in the true sense of the word ignorant. And I thought about this as a kid, like the interstates, like what was there before the interstates? And it wasn't until like very recently in my life, like in the past like 4 or 5 years, was like black neighborhoods, a bunch of neighborhoods, a bunch of businesses, a bunch of things that were like really cool and awesome and like important to like a thriving community got demolished. I remember when I realized it was Cormac McCarthy. I read Suttree. Suttree ends with them building the interstate and like plowing through all these neighborhoods that Cormac McCarthy or that Suttree is like, spending a lot of time in. And I was just like,
the history of where the Civic Coliseum, Civic Auditorium is. That was all black neighborhood that they just displaced people. Yeah.
And so when I teach A Raisin in the Sun, we talk all about like redlining and like neighborhoods and interstates, and we look at, there's a redlining map of Knoxville that you can look at, and you can see exactly which neighborhoods were coded as what and which neighborhoods got destroyed by the interstate. The Kroger right by Fulton, the Kroger on Fulton. So that's like that's like a little triangle patch of like Broadway shopping center or whatever it's called. So I was looking at the map as the kids were doing their little activity. And I was just like, I love maps. So I was just like clicking around, looking at my own thing. And I clicked on this red triangle that was in the middle of all this yellow. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And I clicked on it, and it had the most like horrifyingly racist description. It was just said nothing. It said something along the lines of like, it's nothing more than a bunch of Negro shacks is what it said. And at the time I was like, had Google Maps open, and I had this historical redlining map open. I was like, I was trying to like overlay them, like figure out what that was. And I realized it was the Kroger. So like that parking lot, that shopping center is like street by street, where that neighborhood used to be, just like obliterated to make a Kroger, just so you put a bunch of concrete there. And I was just like, it just like literally makes me want to throw up all the time. Every time I think about it.
Although I
tore down Nikki Giovanni's house, tore down Buford Delaney's house.
Although I get nostalgic because there used to be a tiny shack in the middle of that shopping center where there was a Santa Claus. And all of us who grew up here are like, that sketchy ass Santa. Where we're all like, oh. And where some of my friends were finding the photos and posted the photos like, holy fuck. To where I want to make a t-shirt of, if I can find a good photo of that shed of just the shack and say like, Merry Christmas, I guess, or something like, in like on a Jack Daniels bottle or something. It's so my dad, Alspell Spring Hill Neighborhood Association, they're wanting to expand Washington Pike, and the city, the way they drew it up, they're like, well, there's so much traffic. So then you look at the plans, and I wish I could properly draw it, but I explained this to Damon Rawls the other day when he was here. It's like 40 feet, I'm getting these numbers wrong. 40 feet for a sidewalk and greenway, 40 feet and a ground, and they're going to end up adding 1 lane. Instead of it being 2 lanes, it's going to be 3 lanes with the turn lane. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? No, it needs, if you really, and they're going to destroy a historic black church, Twisters, which is an institution out there in Corrington, and they're going to tear apart all this shit so they can have more. Who's going to
what?
More green. And I was like, there's plenty of green out there. If you really, and it's gonna take, they're planning for 4 years, which that means 6 to 7 years.
Right.
And then all of that is gonna go out Murphy Road, which is even more narrow. So you're gonna displace all that traffic to go there for 4 to 7 years. In what world because in the morning and in the evening, it gets backed up for about 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
All of that.
That's all it is.
For 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because then once you do all that, you're like, oh, fuck, we need to expand Murphy. No, you don't.
No.
No.
Expanding roads also doesn't do anything. You know, like whenever you see that, like it's cars are like a gas, right? Like we're gonna fill up the volume of the container that we're in. So if you make a bunch of lanes, now we have a bunch of lanes with traffic. Cool.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
they did all that expansion at the 4640, and it's still always a mess.
Yeah.
It's still always traffic.
Yeah. I do this thing, I don't know, because I hate myself and I want to be sad, where I like, I will get on Google Maps, because on Street View, you can click back through all the old Street View photos. Like however many there are, you can click back through and see the old ones. And I was on Alcoa Highway, like where they expanded, or like, I guess they did technically like add a ramp or something.
Yeah.
And but I just remember like right when you cross the bridge and you're making that curve like around the or like right next to the river, and it was just like jungly and like shady and cool and like not that much traffic. You know,
it's concrete.
Like, and so again, not sure why I did it. I dropped my little yellow guy right onto Alcoa Highway. I clicked on the Street View and I clicked back so I could see what it used to look like. I was like, God damn it. Why did I do this?
Well, that's like, so when I was in college, my buddy, one quick thing. So we went to Townsend. My dad, my uncle, and I, I'm going to brag on them. They were awarded these quilts for their service in the military.
Whoa, very cool.
And it was pretty fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to Townsend, and while we're going, my uncle goes, I wonder if I'll be gone from this earth before they finish this damn road.
Right?
I was like, oh my God. And Dad's like, you know what? I probably will be. I was like, oh my God. You shut up.
Get ready to be quiet.
Shut up.
Stop talking about dying.
I was like, but also, you're probably right.
But also, yeah.
This road. But, so when I was in college, my close friend Greg lived in Madisonville.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see them expand 411 to a 5-lane road.
Yeah.
From, I guess it was like a 2 or 3. And every time I drive, I was like, there's not enough traffic that we need.
I know.
5 lanes.
I know.
On this road. Now, granted, there was nothing out there.
Right.
But it's still just kind of like, this is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, but it's still messy in Maryville, but once you get outside Maryville, there's never any traffic.
It's just like, there's going to be traffic.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I was like, I know the minute I say that. It's well, I guess once they start building all the damn condo, neighborhood suburbs out there, maybe. But
she's like, everybody get out.
Well, I had heard that they were expanding Alcoa Highway because they want to build up McGee-Tyson in the next 10 years to be an international airport.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. McGee-Tyson is so nice. It's not crowded. We don't need it to be an international airport. You can go to Nashville, go Charlotte. Atlanta. We're surrounded by international airports. Like, I love McGee-Tyson. If it wasn't that weird little like halfway crooked shape, you could stand in one end and look like all the way through the other end. Security is easy. You just go in there. You get on your plane. You sit there for. It's just like, whatever. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm like, I got old fast.
I think the weird thing of like, I'm of two minds.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not supposed to use the term hate. My grandfather always told me you shouldn't hate anything.
You say hate is too strong of emotion to waste on something you don't even like.
Yeah.
That's what my friend's dad always told me. It was really annoying, but I know
that they closed the food truck park just for parking because there was a community built about all the people that went to the food truck park. Now, here's where I'm of two minds.
Okay.
The community was rich white people. So that's one of those.
That's true.
But they had a community there, and it's a bummer that is gone because they couldn't figure out. Hey, we're going to pave over 85% of our parking lot. Oh shit, we don't have any parking. No shit. No shit.
Yeah,
that's how that works.
Yeah,
and again, that goes back to there was somebody trying to build a restaurant in the old co-op on Broadway across from Broadway Carpet. In that 2-story building that is now Ale Ray Grill.
Yes.
So somebody was trying to build a restaurant there, and they got turned down because there wasn't. You had to have like a parking space for every table that was in your restaurant. But then Recode changed that to where you don't.
Oh. So
because they changed that, Axel and Yeehaw are able to exist. They just figure it out, dum dums.
Yeah,
like it's a bum. I wish change was done right.
Yeah.
Like something I mentioned to you was the baseball park.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about the baseball park?
Also of two minds. Like my instinct is I hate it.
I will say, I will preface this. So I worked for Randy Boyd for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
He is one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
All right, I'll stop saying
No,
fuck
no.
Randy Boyd.
Here's the fucked up part.
Because I say that every day.
When he ran for governor,
Yeah.
a lot of the shit that came out of his mouth
Uh-huh.
was his political advisor pushing him to the right.
Right.
That's not who he was as a person. Because
That's
he's
nice
the
to
one
know.
who started with his own money the nonprofit that allowed kids to go to community college for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then he joined Bill Haslam's cabinet and made that a state, because that was very important to him.
Yeah.
He is a big brother to a little kid at Pond Gap Elementary. He has spent a lot of money helping fund Pond Gap Elementary because it's a very poor school.
Yeah.
Like, he is a good man.
Yeah. Well,
He
that's
just-
good. That makes me feel
He
better.
just, in that government, in that run for governor, if he had just been him,
yeah.
he could have been the best governor we.
Yeah.
If he would listen to me. If he would listen to me. Famous last words. If he will, I would have said, run as an independent and be you.
Yeah.
You don't need to be anything but you.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer.
Yeah.
But I will say he is a good man. But please do not let that tarnish you. Because he's also a businessman.
Honestly, the more stuff that once I realized like he was a Republican, I was like, I can't go to Jig and Reel anymore. I used to like, well, this isn't the reason I stopped going, but I used to go to the old time jams every Tuesday over there. But anyway, I got tired of playing the same old songs, and anyway, but that's another thing. Okay, so the baseball stadium. I don't want more traffic down there. I like that I'm always guaranteed a parking spot underneath that bridge.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I think it's good or disgusting that are they still going to call it like name things after like Buford Delaney and like the Harlem Renaissance and stuff. Like there was a time where there was like in the plans for this stadium, was there housing attached to it too? Like apartments or something?
There's apartments and condos.
Okay,
yeah.
apartments, condos, and they were going to call them like the Harlem Renaissance Heights or something weird.
I do know.
And I was like, I kind of hate that.
That in the city or the state giving them money, they have to give, I can't remember if it's like 20% has to go to black-owned businesses.
Wow. Okay.
It's something like that. But here's the fucked up thing. So I heard a story. So take this with a grain of salt. But somebody told me that there was a black man who's like a lawyer, and he put a bid in to be like the hot dog vendor, which is something not in his realm, but he was like, there's this opportunity and I can make money. I'm going to do this. I was like, that's kind of fucked up, but that's kind of, I like your way of thinking.
Hey, take it where you
I like
get
your
it.
way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like you're
That's fine.
but yeah.
I just like Knoxville is just like such a dumb place sometimes because we already had a downtown baseball stadium and y'all fucked it up, sent it way out to Sevierville and made us sit on hot plastic seats and in a hot parking lot, which is what it always feels like out there.
Yeah.
And like part of me will be happy to be like, cool, I'll go to baseball games now.
Yeah.
Like I shit on it, but like who am I to say like I'm not gonna go? So like that will be cool. I will be sad about parking. I'll be sad in general just about like everything. Just Knoxville gets more crowded and there's more people and you have to compete for space and like it gets expensive and like that's just the nature of a city growing.
I'm trying to remember the number Dad gave me the other night. He said they made a promise that stadium would be occupied. It was some insane number, like 320 days of the year.
So what else will go in it when it's not baseball?
There's going to be restaurants and all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha.
Now that I say that, I was like, I bet that's what they're talking about. I thought they meant actually in the stadium proper. I was like, I would be glad for the more opportunities for concerts.
Yes.
Because that's going to be like
sweet.
a 4,200 seat.
Yeah.
I was like, concerts, yeah, and that's just stands. So if you put, I was like that, or more stuff like getting the Savannah Bananas to come in. You know what I mean? But getting more outside stuff, getting maybe like, I don't know how it works with but like the softball, like maybe the SEC championship.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
That would be cool.
Get that kind of shit. Let the people who play old-timey baseball in the parks go in there and play a couple times a year.
That would be cool.
Like, that would be cool. I was like, do shit like that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the apartments and condos. All these keep coming up. I'm like,
I wonder, do you think that could also be a policy that they just have to follow? Like, if you're going to build this, you have to put housing in it somewhere.
I think that's how they really make their money.
Yeah.
There.
I bet.
But I bet
if it's more luxury condos, I'm gonna be pissed and then call it in a historically black neighborhood.
But I think the weird thing is somebody also gave me numbers on this of saying some kind of crazy thing of like 30% of the condos downtown remain empty all the time.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Because it's some crazy thing of like it's rich people from West Knoxville buying a condo. Like, God
buying a
love
condo
him.
as a second place or as an Airbnb. Do you know how, like, we're going to end up as a ghost town
It's
with
like
nobody
30 or
living
40%.
Downtown. Yeah.
Well, God love him. Here's another fun Randy story. And I actually love him for this.
Okay.
So he redid the Jigging Room. Did a great job. When they first opened, a friend of mine who's a designer came in to talk. We got him to come in and talk. He's from Scotland. And I was trying to take him Stock and Barrel because they had just opened. But they were too packed. It was too late. And I'm sitting there like, where the fuck? I guess we can take him to Barley's. So we started walking towards Barley's, and we passed the Jigging Room. He's like, what is this? I was like, I cannot take a real Scottish guy. And he went in there. And he sat down and he looked around and he ate and he was like, tell your man he did a good job.
Oh, good.
He's like, this is fucking awesome. And my buddy Michael May, who his family, like I think it's like his grandparents are from Scotland. So him and his brother went over and visited. We went in there and Gina, God love Gina, one of the greatest people in this world. He said something like, do you all have haggis? She was like, yeah. She just brought us a plate of haggis.
Damn.
And he tried it. He's like, this is like authentic. He was freaking out. He's like, holy shit,
I
man.
mean, yeah.
Like, he was like, this is legit. And I was like, yeah, Randy flew over to Scotland a lot. That's what made him build that because of him and Jenny. But when they did, he bought a condo downtown. He was like, it's a long way to drive home after I've had a few.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I actually love you for that. That you're not an asshole.
Yeah.
And driving, because I've been to his house and it's way the fuck out there. I was like, that you were actually like, I mean, that's a rich, if I was rich, I would do shit like that. If I lived out in Norris, fuck, I'd do that.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like,
that's funny.
That's a great thing to do. But it is, like, I heard that it is a lot of empty. Yeah. Baseball, my big caveat on it, make it still be cheap.
Yeah.
Don't charge a lot.
Yeah.
Let families come in there, because I don't know if you ever go to Ice Bears games, but Ice Bears have done a great job.
Yes.
And it's always sold out.
Yep.
It's always families. It's fucking awesome. I took Sean for his birthday. I was like, I'm tired of buying you shit.
Yeah.
I won't create experiences.
Yeah.
I was like, you said you would like to go to a hockey game. I'm taking you to a hockey game. And we went. He doesn't like hockey.
Yeah.
He was like, that was awesome.
Right. That's what
it's so much fun.
Every time we go. Oh, my dad used to, that was like my dad's like thing that we would do together. And so I went to the very first hockey game I ever went to was a Cherokee game.
Yeah.
And Cherokee, and then the Knoxville Speed, and then Ice Bears.
Another fun fact, I did the first program for the Knoxville Speed.
Wow.
Right out of college, they hired me for $400 to do that entire game program.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which my advisor at Pellissippi, he said, they tried to get somebody to do it for free. I told him we weren't going to give it to them for free. It may have not been $400. It may have been $300. It may have been $200. I didn't even get tickets. What the hell am I doing? That's called being a kid, where you didn't negotiate for tickets.
Yeah.
The Cherokees. I still have like a mini stick in the basement.
I have a little keychain, a little like hockey puck keychain that's got a little Cherokee symbol on it.
So I said this to a friend, and I'm almost afraid to put this, but we're in like hour 7, so nobody is listening at this point. Besides Bethany, to make sure you're okay the whole time.
Make sure I'm still talking, still breathing.
Yeah. My dream is to eventually have enough money to do historic Knoxville teams gear. Like baseball caps.
That would be
jerseys,
so cool.
Like do it. Although Cherokees, that's a little
right.
But
that's
we
kind
are
of hard.
on Cherokee land.
That's
I
true.
honestly think that's why they did it.
I don't remember. I'm trying to think. Not like it makes it okay, because I think it's still like wrapped up and all that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Did they ever actually have like a human face for the Cherokee logo, or was it just like a feather on a hockey puck?
I think it was just a feather on a hockey puck.
Feather on a hockey puck. Not saying that makes it. I know it's still part of the tradition of like using.
But like, because I was saying this because I love base. I used to wear baseball caps every day. Like, I'm not kidding. When I was in high school, I would wake up and put on a baseball cap, like in my house. But I've started collecting. I love minor league baseball caps because they're fucking awesome. So I bought that Houston Oilers baseball cap because I love that logo and that color. That color is gorgeous. And I was texting with a friend. And I was like, dude, I bought a Blue Jays cap because it had the same coloring of the old KJ's logo. It had the light blue piping. It was an alt one. And I bought a Montreal Expos one because I still think that's one of the best logos ever. The M and the E are there. I was like, it's gorgeous. And the colors, it's red, white, and blue, even though it's a Canadian team.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. I was like, but I was like, man, I was texting him. I was like, man, that is my dream to do historic Knoxville merch.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. You're a curmudgeon. You don't go anywhere. Is there anything you would like to see? What is something you would like to see more of here in town? Or what would you like to see changed?
That's a really big question. I think, like you, I want to see more opportunities for artists and musicians that are low stakes, right?
Yeah.
I don't need a huge music venue or a huge art museum or something like that, but like we've got and maybe I don't go as much, maybe these things do exist and I just like don't know about them, but like we've got the like craft markets and like the farmers market, and like something I'm jealous of with Nashville is like I feel like Nashville has a writing community that is a lot more not accessible, but like you've got like the prestigious ones, like the fancy ones, and then you've got like kind of the punk rock ones, like the ones that are more DIY zine focused, and like like I don't think they're all markets, but like when I first started to decide, I was like, I want to take my poetry seriously, like and I know these groups of people exist because there's friends, right? There's like groups of friends who are like writing together, and Sundress Publications, which is in Knoxville. But they mostly just have like individual workshops that you can sign up for that are virtual that you can do. And then there's like the Knoxville Writers Guild that you have to like pay money for to join. And I'm not going to critique the Writers Guild because I don't know anything about it since I'm not in it. But you do have to pay like a fee to join, and then you have to hope or create a writing group that's like in the genre and in the style of writing that you want to work on. And I'm struggling to find more of that. So yeah, I don't think we need any more breweries, but I would like more spaces for just like low key, low stakes, like art and writing community.
Okay.
And maybe like I said, maybe I just need to get out more and find those. Maybe they do exist.
I think the problem I see with a lot of the like art community, and you see this with music too, it gets siloed out.
Yeah.
It's somebody decides they don't like this person, so they go off and start their own thing, and they don't acknowledge that, and they never work together. So when I was president of AIGA, American Institute of Graphic Arts, here in Knoxville, I was constantly trying to work with like the KAMA, Knoxville Association of Marketing, Knoxville branch of the American Marketing Association, AdFed, all these other groups. I was like, hey, we should all work together. This is stupid. Why are we off in our own things? There's this huge market here. Why are we not all working together? None of them wanted to work together.
Yeah.
They all had opinions and egos, and it's a fucking bummer.
Yeah.
And in the art community, it's kind of the same thing. And it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I think that's everywhere. I don't think that's just here.
No, I agree.
But like writing, you're totally right in that it is... There are people doing things, and there are people that are doing things that are not acknowledged for the great things they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna try and find somebody.
Well, like when I found Chelsea's Instagram and I followed them, I was like, "Whoa, what are you doing? That looks cool. You're doing it like what is your like? Oh, you're a teacher. Oh, also you like play music. Also you write, and also I was like, and like I think once you're in Knoxville long enough, you do find these groups of friends, and like they all kind of overlap in their interests, and there's like places to get plugged in, but it's hard to find something that's consistent, and if you're not already like in that person's sphere, it's hard to be like a part of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and some of it is, you're right, not knowing somebody is doing a thing.
Yeah, not knowing somebody's doing anything. Ooh, something I really, really want, and maybe this exists, maybe you know about it. When I was at Bread Loaf, I started, they had just refurbished their printing press. And it was something that you could like reserve time and like learn how to use all the tools and the typeface and the press and all this sort of stuff. And what is the one that's here in Knoxville called?
Which one?
It's not Pilot. Is it? No, Pilot Light is. What's the name of the? Does it even exist anymore? It's like it's close to where Yeehaw is.
Stripe Light.
Stripe Light, not
Stripe
Pilot
Light
Light.
is not Stripe Light.
Okay, it's not a Stripe Light anymore. Okay.
No, Brian went off and is doing something different. I don't even know if Brian is still here in town.
Gotcha.
Sarah is running it. She's renamed it, but she's mainly doing her own work.
Gotcha.
She's doing some workshops with like risograph and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I realized, because I was like, when I came back that summer from Bread Loaf, and I was like, at the time, Stripe Light still like was Stripe Light and still had a website, but they weren't doing any workshops anymore. And they're like, sign up for our email to see when we're doing workshops again.
So what's funny is I fussed at her and said, you need to do more workshops.
Yeah.
I meant letterpress.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she took that as anything. And I think because she's really gotten into risograph, that's what she's teaching. I'm like, damn it.
No, I want a letter.
Yeah, this is not. Okay, there it is. I have something off mic I will talk to you about.
Okay.
Because I just don't want to mention this person's name.
Sure.
No, it's good.
But yeah,
okay.
I want
here, I will go ahead and mention this. He may listen. There's a very nice man here in town, Beto Cumming.
Wait, I think I just found this person's...
BETOCUMMING.
Yeah.
Super nice dude.
I don't know this person,
but publishes poetry as Irish Publishing Group or Iris Press Publishing or Iris... I can't say it. Iris Press. I keep wanting to say Irish. That is out on Oak Ridge. Mm-hmm. I was looking at his page. I was like, man, don't you have like a... I'm going to have to fuss at him and say, you don't have any outbound links, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. That I had lunch with him and his dad one time. He's nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Nicest guy in the world.
I did not know. Published poetry.
I have 2 of his books that I read that I did not understand because I did not understand poetry that we discussed last time.
Yeah. Printing press that I have access to and can learn. Somebody can teach me how to do it. And or letterpress, I guess.
We'll talk about that off.
Yeah, okay.
There is some... Here, I'm going to mark it down at the bottom. There is something that I can talk to you about that... Yeah, it'll be off mic, but... Like with Sarah, I love Sarah to death. But she and I have talked because she... God damn it. I'm trying not to say this as a fucking brag thing. She respects the shit out of me when it comes to like marketing and
sure,
business.
yeah.
And she has talked to me a lot about that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times I'm like, please let me help you.
Yeah.
Kind of like, same thing as I said earlier.
Uh-huh.
This is something you're great at.
Yeah.
Please let me help you succeed here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you could do something here.
Yeah.
Like, and Brian, when he was there, he even fussed at me one time I was in there. He's like, hey, man, you need to get in here. I was like, what? And he's like, we got all this new wood type, man. You would love it. And he was just like, but I had to take, it was only something simple as I had to take 2 courses in order to get certified to where I could go in there whenever I wanted to. And the only problem was that was right before the pandemic.
Right.
And it was just like, and after that, and there's part of me that wouldn't mind going back to Sarah and going, can I learn, I'll pay you whatever.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it too,
I want to do it
this
too.
may be I love this term, accountability buddies.
Yes, please.
I love that term.
I need
can't
those.
remember.
I need to surround myself with accountability buddies. Yeah.
I can't remember where I first heard that, but accountability buddies.
Okay.
To be like, we won't come in here and we'll help on the times where you can't be here.
Yeah.
Or we'll
Train me. I'm willing to learn. I want to
Yes.
work with my hands.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
letterpress. I would love to.
Letterpress would be incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because when I was at Fulton, I ran a fucking AB Dick 850, which was offset litho, but it was still a press.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to be able to go down there and play around with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And to have the time to start cutting into linoleum or stuff to make, or intaglio, any of that stuff to really get into it. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Cool.
I will say, here, I'll give you, before we switch in gears, and holy shit, I've kept you. It's another, we still got more things to go.
We're doing great.
Okay. Do you need water or anything? And
No,
I'm going
I'm
to leave
good.
this in on the podcast. There's a lot I've bemoaned this a lot. I've bemoaned this a lot. I don't give a shit. I get my place in, I love that, my place in Knoxville.
Yep.
I'm a big goofy white dude. There can be a few less than me.
Yeah.
I would love to see, and I would love to see a lot more people of my color. There's a term I love, be more humble. Maybe get back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to worry about yourself enough. Maybe actually give a shit about other people.
Yeah.
Or maybe do things because it's fun.
Do things because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big bummer about the Happy Knoxville holidays is I've had a couple of people make me feel guilty about asking people to come. Oh, you shouldn't ask people to come and play for free. I was like, A, this is a benefit, and B, this should be fun.
Right. Right.
I'm not asking. I just want this to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want this to be a good time, and everybody come together, and we raise a fuck ton of money for a nonprofit that deserves, the Love Kitchen deserves every fucking penny it gets.
Yeah.
And I know Ellen are gone, but their spirit still lives on.
Oh, sure.
And that fucking, they deserve more than what they get.
Yeah.
And that's been a real bummer with that of like, I think I told you maybe off, like, I would love to bring that back, but I've been made to feel guilty that I ask people to give of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, am I asking you much?
Yeah, because like I mean, I know I just love. I mean, I'm also not a career musician, right? Like I'm not making my living off of
everybody
it.
I asked is not a career musician.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I jump at the opportunity to play. Like when asked, like I said, I need the encouragement of somebody being like, "You should do that," and I'd be like, oh, "Okay." But yeah, I love the opportunity to just like play and be chill.
Here I've been at. I was trying to figure. I don't think I pinged you on this, but I pinged. I love MBA terms.
Okay.
Business people terms. We're going to circle back around.
You're going to circle back around.
Let's put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that.
I was like, I love what Borderland Tees, what they represent, who they are. I fucking love Jenny and Bob. They are two of the best people in this world. And they did something. I think it was for Sono Pride, and I was like, damn it, I want to make a shirt so I can give them money. So I was like, shit, I don't know what to do. Because it's one of those no bumpers. What? So I hit up like 5 friends. I was like, if you were to order, what would you like to see? Like, and I got no good answers. One of my friends, Esther Sitver, God love her. She's like, well, you can make money if you do this. I was like, I'm not talking about money.
Yeah.
Something creative. I need to make sure to say accountability buddies. Team accountability buddies. But yeah, I would like to see. That was a big discussion I had with Josh Shorey on the episode about art. It was a lot of me yelling about art because I think it's a lot of rich white people in art.
Well, like we said, you can't make art unless you have the money to survive without making money making art.
I don't even want to start this art.
Okay, sorry.
No, I will air this out here, and I don't know if this person will hear it or not, but I got into an argument with a friend of mine who is semi-affluent white woman, and she said to me, straight-faced, every woman has it harder than every man.
Okay.
And I said, no.
No.
I said, so you're saying the poor black kid in East Knoxville
Yeah.
has it easier than a rich white woman out in West Knoxville who lives in a house with columns that her dad makes $3.5 million. And she's like, yeah. I was like, I don't need, I think I ended up saying, I don't know where to begin. Because it's so fucked up.
It's also a weird hill to die on. You know what I mean? Like, you could just, there are other things you could say that like women experience certain hardships that men will never experience.
Exactly.
You can say that.
But saying, as a blanket statement,
Yeah.
I get there are grays
Oh,
and there
yeah.
are shades.
But I don't think that person was seeing grays either.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it was, I actually used 2 real world examples. One, both people I knew. Mm-hmm. One young man that lives right over here, that his mom and dad had him when the mom was 17 or 18. He went to Fulton, very talented artist, started going to Pellissippi, got a young woman pregnant when he was 18 or 19. Had to quit, works at a manufacturing company in Blount County. I think you can figure out where I'm talking about. Doesn't do art anymore. And I was kind of mentoring him, and that happened. He's like, I got to get a job. I got a kid.
Yeah.
Young white woman I worked with at a certain pet company was a cheerleader at UT. Her dad, uncomfortably wealthy. Her boyfriend, uncomfortably wealthy. Soon to be fiance, now father to children. Her dream was to work for a certain ad agency. So she just quit working at the pet company to try and pursue.
To just try. Yeah.
To just try. Because she has that safety
Because
net.
if you fail, you'll
so
be
I
okay.
used that as an example to my friend. And she was like, yeah, she has it harder than him. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to talk to you. Now, are you saying he can walk through the old city at night and feel safe?
Yeah.
Well, actually, he is a black man. He probably cannot.
Probably not.
Probably not. I forgot. This is an argument I had like 10 years ago. It's just like, to just blanketly say that.
Yeah.
That's where I come from when I say all these weird shit, because I know I'm a fucking goofy white dude. Because I've also been told I am privileged and I have never had a hard day in my life. I was like, you're out of your fuck. I've had a gun in my face on 3 different occasions. Have you? No? Shut the fuck up. Have you had people die because of drive-bys and shit? No? Cool. Please explain to me how my life has been. I get how my life has been easy, but it's all gray. It's not black and white. It's not. No. I've had issues to where I had an issue with my mortgage company last year that I have not talked about, will not talk about until it's all over. But I'm sitting there telling this couple that I'm friends with, God love them, Brent and Megan, they may listen, and I'm sitting there telling them the story of what happened, and Megan is completely shut down, and like 5 minutes in, Brent looks at Megan and says, "How uncomfortable are you right now?" She's like, "I'm freaking out," and it was like, and it didn't even involve her.
Yeah.
And I love Megan, and I was like, yeah, some of us just have to learn to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Some of us have had not an easy life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying woe is me, but I'm saying there are people that have it worse than me. And maybe let's think about them too, instead of being a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Well, one more thing about what I would like to see in Knoxville, maybe going along with that.
I was going to say, let's see if it ties in. The next 2 left turns are residential architecture and house flipping.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
We can make a segue. I really, really wish we had, first of all, city policies that addressed homelessness in a way that was not criminalizing people who have to live on the streets. And I really wish we had more services, more physical places where people who are experiencing homelessness could go that are not Christian and not gonna. Anyway, that's the other thing.
Can I give you 2 on that? Weird ones. So a friend of mine, photojournalist at the News Sentinel, did a 2-year-long story on homelessness in Knoxville. And what she said was, every person who is homeless in Knoxville right now has a bed they can sleep in every night. The only problem is, a lot of those beds come with rules.
Yeah. Yep.
And Some of them are good and make sense.
Mhm.
Like it's like Menendez Manor. They're like, you can't have visitors after 11 and you can't have more than like 4 people in a room. I was like, those I kind of understand.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to just stop
Right.
like it from burning to the ground.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. And maybe that's not a polite thing to say, but it's.
Yeah.
I also saw that hotel in South Knoxville burn to the ground. And my friend who's a firefighter was like, oh, it was very bad.
Yeah.
And that's what her experience was, embedding in it within 2 years.
Yeah. When did she do this? How long ago was
This is probably 2017.
Okay.
So it's been a few
Yeah.
years pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
2017, 2018.
I have no idea how to judge if it's gotten worse, but like I went to St. John's Lutheran Church downtown, and like our big thing was like, because we were right there, like by VMC and CARM and Salvation Army,
Yeah.
like they just sent us kids out. They're like, okay, you go out and you go to these places, and you help however they want help. And so like I remember meeting a lot of people, and also just like seeing that neighborhood so often that when I see it now, on first glance, when you drive through, it looks worse. Like it looks more. When I say worse, I mean like more populated. Like there's more people who are living there than there used to be. But that is interesting to think about the beds, because that is a thing that I have a massive problem with. Is like there are other rules that are not reasonable. Like
Well, and I think it's CARM. You have to sit through a sermon in order to come in there.
yeah, I don't know.
While their CEO makes $400,000 a year.
Well, did you see the thing circulating recently? Like if you're going to volunteer at CARM, you have to sign a thing saying like you're anti-gay, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You don't have to sign if you're like receiving services from them. You don't have to do that. But like if you're going to volunteer there, you have to basically be like, God hates gay people. Sign here, date, please.
I can't go down that road.
So anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody could have a bed. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's shit that it's a bunch of mean people who like are gatekeeping the beds.
Who are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Who are making fuck tons of money.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, 2 other things to think about.
Oh yeah.
2 other things. One of my friends owns a building behind CARM. No, it's not CARM. The big thing on Broadway across from CARM, that's the old car dealership. What the hell is that? Salvation Army?
Oh yeah, Salvation Army.
He owns a building behind that, and he has employed homeless people to help fix up his building. And he said, here was his opinion like 3 years ago. Excuse me, early days of the pandemic. Because he was I think I mentioned this last time, he was in the group that we met every Wednesday, our prayer circle.
Yes.
That he said, because we started talking about homelessness one time, about is it getting better, is it getting worse? And he was like, it's staying even. You know why it's staying even? Because about every 3 months, people die.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, all of a sudden, he wouldn't hear back from someone, and it turns out they OD'd, and they died. He was like, so it's staying even.
Well,
He's
also, weather too. Like, yeah.
But he was just like, and once he said that, it was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a...
Shit, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. He was like, it's not getting worse in that there are more people. He was like, because it's staying even because people are...
Because it's already horrific. It's already
Yes.
hellish, a hellscape.
I honestly don't know the answer there.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a fucked... But again, I'm not defending Knoxville and saying this. It's so bad everywhere.
Yeah. No, I that's what I say when I say, like, I'm trying to figure out if it's worse in Knoxville, because I feel like it's gotten worse everywhere. Like
I think it's more of, we are more of a temperate climate, and that's why a lot more people come here.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
we're not too hot like in like Louisiana and shit. So, but you can't tell that during the summer because it feels fucking miserable here.
Yeah.
But it is.
I'm a firm believer in, and I know there like you're saying, some of those places, like there are some rules, right? so your building doesn't collapse. But I am a firm believer in housing first. Like you can't do anything until you have an address and until you have a place to sleep and shower. Like I don't care if you're Christian. I don't even care if you're still addicted to drugs. Like you're not going to not be addicted to drugs until you have a place to sleep where somebody's like checking on you.
Not to equate this to I'm going to dunk on the Republicans and relating it back to abortion. It bothers me I get it. I'm a dude. It bothers me that the Republicans are so against abortion, and yet they don't give a fuck about that mother or that kid.
Absolutely.
The minute it's determined you can't have an abortion.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel the same way about homelessness. They're like, we need, because I think it's, here I'll get into my last point on this before we can switch to you, Lewis Blacking it on residential architecture or house flipping. But it's, I got to see the fingers. That's my mom's favorite comedian. She's like,
Really? That's funny.
Just the fingers. I took her to see him at the Tennessee, and she was dying laughing. It was the best, man. My mom is the sweetest Southern lady who's the most cutting person humanly
Well, that's
possible.
what sweet Southern ladies do.
She's
They
the best, man. I can tell mom stories for days, man. She's the best. I still remember one time no, honey, you are an asshole for thinking that. Who is it? Oh, it's them? Fuck them. I'm not kidding. Actual conversation with my mom.
She's on your side. She's an ally.
She's the best. She's the fucking best, man. I struggle with everything in politics because I see the two extremes. And the people over here, I'm sorry, I'm an entitled white dude, are just as bad, if not worse. Because I remember during COVID, a big initiative here in town, and God, I don't think you shared this. I don't know. You punch me, throw that glass. That's right. I offered. Yeah,
I'm ready.
You got your ammo. I saw this push from people on the far left saying, all these hotels are empty. Let homeless people stay in there. It's like, so the poor undocumented workers who have to clean that, you want them to come in and work during COVID. Yeah. Do you want to volunteer to come in there? Oh, you don't?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Interesting. I was like, that's where I struggle because I see people on the far left who want somebody to do something about it, but they don't want to lift a finger.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I see the people on the far right going, I don't want to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's something in the middle
that
will work. That's to be said for everything in this fucking country. There's something in the middle that both sides, that will appease both sides, that will work.
It's just that it's shitty because the far right has made the middle look like it's closer to them than it really is.
So I will say, they're also both the loudest, and they're both spouting off without any repercussions. I was a diehard centrist for almost my entire life, but man, that right wing, they keep pulling me further and further left.
Right.
Because
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, that they are so extreme.
Yeah.
To where I have told Republican friends, I was like, you realize it's your fault.
Yeah.
That I'm now fighting you.
Yeah.
And I was like, and here's the thing. I am a man, I'm a Southern man, and I'm a Collins man.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
It's like I'm stubborn. There's not a bone in my body that is not encased in stubbornness.
Yeah. Well, it's to the point where my female friends and I, the ones who are dating people or whatever, when a guy says he's centrist, we're like, red flag. That is not what he means. Or he may think he means that, but that's not really what he means.
It was, for me, here's the best example of centrist, and this is centrist. I think the government does spend a lot of money. But as you also heard me say, I think we also spend a lot of money on chuffa, there's a lot of bullshit in defense.
Yeah, the government spends an absurd amount of money on defense, and
that is a centrist statement. The government is spending too much money. This
is pretty left.
This goes back to the. You ought to hear I got more radical views than that. But it's like, I love the idea of somebody said, I wish we could make a checklist of when we pay our taxes, what we want that money to go to.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know how many things would never get funded?
Yeah.
Defense would be down to 18%.
Yeah.
Because nobody would want to fund it. No, my radical viewpoint is if you don't vote in 3 elections, I think you should have to take a citizenship test.
Like a civics test, see if you know shit.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
3 times.
Gotcha.
And I'm not talking presidential.
Any election.
3 times.
What if you're
You can absentee vote.
Okay. Right.
I believe in early voting. I believe in absentee voting. I believe this fucking country is gerrymandered to the.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. The right is pulling me more
Yeah.
left. It's the centrist thing is more of like, I think abortion.
Where are we going?
Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm just setting you up because I know where this is going, and I know. I think it is a very personal decision. It should not be my right to tell you what the fuck you can do with yours.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been in this situation, oh fuck, I've never admitted this on here. There was a woman that thought you were pregnant on, and I was like, it's your decision.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to raise that child, I will take that child.
Mm-hmm.
That was my decision.
Yeah.
At 18. That was
Yeah.
my decision. I was like, it's 100% your decision.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just don't want to have the child post birth, I will take the child.
Mm-hmm.
I will take that responsibility.
All right.
So that's why I say, you can say, and I know that's a very left thing.
I know.
So,
I'm
you
just
know.
like, dude, I think you're left.
But you go. I knew where that was going. But it's on my end. I was like, it's not my decision, but it's like, I fucking love kids. So
Sure.
it's like,
I would say a lot of women who do make that decision, a lot of them do love
I
kids
know.
too.
does that even make sense what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no. Like, but what you're saying is like weirdly, I will see online or hear people who say that they are pro-life.
Yeah.
They're like, but I'm just pro-life in my own personal life. I was like, that means you're pro-choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that is totally cool for you to be like if you are anti-abortion, you think abortion is morally wrong, and you
I don't.
and I don't think you. I'm not
I
saying that's
don't.
what you believe, but there are people
Oh,
who like
no.
say that, but I would never tell I don't think it should be illegal to have an abortion. I was like, then you should come over to our side. You
Yeah.
should fight with us. Stop
Oh,
fighting
no.
for those people.
Oh
Yeah.
no, let's think of somebody who's Ted Cruz. Is Ted Cruz? No. What's that fucker's name down in Florida?
DeSantis,
No, the dude who ran for president.
Rick Scott,
the younger guy.
Jeb Bush.
No, the younger guy who. Oh fuck, he's an idiot. Well, they're all idiots.
Don't know. I've named like 5 idiots, and I
What's that
can't
guy's
even
name
get
in
it.
Florida who ran, the younger guy.
The younger guy.
2016 Republican primary results. Ugh. Marco Rubio.
Oh, okay.
So Marco Rubio says something like, we should ban abortion, or some fucking idiot Republican in Alabama says we should outlaw all abortion. And then it comes up, because this has come up, 13-year-old girl gets pregnant. It's her life or the baby's life. That's when I want to go down and grab that Republican by his ear and drag him to the 13-year-old and go,
You tell her. Yeah.
You tell her. Not only you tell her, you open up your fucking checkbook and you take care of this young woman, because it's your fucking fault that all this is fucking happening.
Yeah.
You do this.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a household where my dad, here's a very extreme viewpoint. My dad was standing at big truck driver and go, oh, they hit a kid or a woman? Don't send him to prison. We'll take care of him. Like, he was very
He's one of those guys. Yeah.
hardcore of like,
Yeah.
you either bury him under the prison
Yeah.
or we'll fucking take care of him.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that
Yeah.
to women or children. Like, I don't know. I do feel like, I think there are a lot more minutia things that I'm very centrist on, but I don't know.
Okay.
I am very left-leaning.
You're
But-
loud. I'm just
but
giving you a hard time.
I get mad at these people.
Sure.
I get
But I
very
also
mad at
like I
these
feel
people.
like the extreme left people are like truly the ones that we hear are like a few people who are saying like kind of loony things, and the right like finds those
Oh,
few
yeah.
5
That's why I
people
said
and
these
like
are-
but see, I think on the far right, I think there's more people who are actually that extreme. I don't know. That's
I can't remember if I gave you this line last time. The best thing I've ever heard when it comes to politics is the right falls in line, or the left falls in love, the right falls in line.
Yes.
I think that is applicable to a lot of things. And I hate on the left. I'm not supposed to say hate. I dislike on the left how much infighting there is.
Oh, that'll be the death of it. Yeah, like that will be the downfall.
It's like, hey,
of us.
dumbasses. Whap, whap, whap.
Oh,
We'll smack
yeah,
them all
yeah,
on the
if we're
back of
gonna
the head.
criticize
And
the
go,
left. I'm
hey,
happy to criticize the left for.
we
that.
all need to be on the same path.
Yeah.
Because until we're all on the same path, they're going to win because they're on the,
Right.
they're all lemons.
They're playing the long game, and they've been playing the long game since like the 70s. So
yeah, since losing to Carter in 76.
Since the civil rights movement, they've been playing the long. They're like, how do we get these people back in line?
Southern strategy with Ronald Reagan winning is what started all this. And that's another thing you talk about homeless. Like, I finally got my dad to understand that a lot of homeless situation issues is based off of Reagan dismantling mental health facilities in the 80s. That's something nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit that shit. If you had mental health facilities, there are so many ways. Again, there are so many better ways to run this country. But this is why I got into with Damon. Possibly off mic. I was like, I can't. Oh, no, it was at the end. I was like, I can't run.
Mm-hmm.
I got too much dirt on me. He was like, even if you didn't, they would put dirt on you. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would love to, there's 2 reporters I would love to get in here and talk to and say, I don't like how media and news is right now. Because I think 90% of it is unethical as fuck. I was like, it's all clickbait and trying to get, I was like, it's all bullshit. I was like, it's all bullshit. And it's fucking up this country, man. I was like, because people need to get money. It's all money, man.
Yep. Yes, I agree.
Residential architecture.
Okay.
Because I broke that down into the ugly ass. What are those called? Strip malls that are all the same.
Strip malls that are all the same that have the
stucco-y brown.
Yeah, stucco-y, but we're like, I feel like we're out of the stucco era and we're back into brick era where we're like making these little faux like main streets, like these weird little like literal facades on a strip mall, and you've got a massive parking lot in front of it, and you've got like people who are racing for their lives to try and get to the parking lot without getting creamed by a car. We talked about the one where Inskip Grill is in Fountain City, and it's just like,
which I love Inskip Grill.
Sure,
they're amazing.
Great. The parking lot is terrifying, and the little front, it's like this building is not attached to anything. There's no logic where it's not like you can walk down, casually stroll down Broadway and like do your shopping.
I will say the one that scares me more is back where the pet store and Casual Pint used to be.
Yes, that one is
those people
wicked.
Even with speed bumps, they fly through that parking lot.
The big parking lot where Party City is. That one is. I only have to go. I've gone to Party City like more times in the past year than I've ever gone in my whole life. But
point of personal privilege.
Sure.
Being 6'7", I can see over the car.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, I am about to get obliterated at every turn in my car or out of my car. Residents. Okay. I
think it's the one where Casual Pint used to be. It's the weird ramp ups from Krispy Kreme and Taco Bell. That's where the people just go and turn and don't look. And it's
scary.
Oh, no.
It's scary. Actual residential architecture. I just like, so as a kid, I remember like visiting friends or family who lived in subdivisions and being like, oh, it's so sad and so hot here. And there's no trees. But I was like, that's okay. Like, I live in a neighborhood where trees have had like decades to grow. This neighborhood just needs a few, like in 20 years, like it's going to be so shady and so nice. And now I look at places like Sturkey Hills and I'm like, nope, it's still nothing. Because the HOA doesn't allow trees. Probably, I'm guessing.
Hills.
The one, it's like, it's a big subdivision. If you're going towards, what's the name of the park? Tommy Schubert Park. If you go towards like, you know where Hobby Lobby is on not Clinton. Yeah, on Clinton Highway.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going north on Clinton Highway, that big shopping center where like Hobby Lobby and Lowe's and all that is. Target. If you go right, which would be going east, I think. Anyway, there's a big
subdivision
neighborhood over there. Yeah.
When you were saying that, all I was picturing was Sequoia Hills.
Oh no!
And
no,
I was
no.
like, wait,
Sequoia Hills is like big trees.
It's amazing, like.
But like every subdivision that was built in the like 90s onward, Brad Prepares only. You know what I mean? Like you can go through those subdivisions, like there aren't big trees because homeowners think that big trees are bad because you have to like maintain them and they could fall on your house one day, which is all true. But if there's enough big trees in your neighborhood, they all protect each other like a forest and they don't fall on your house because they're stronger together.
It's amazing, like I used to walk with my buddy Brent in 4th and Gill, and we would walk over there. Then he'd come over here and walk, and it was like 10 degrees difference. Because 4th and Gill has all the big tall trees, and you walk underneath them. Over here,
Yep.
a lot of concrete.
Yeah.
And then even worse, then I would go out to lunch at It's Also Yummy Cafe in West Knoxville, and it was like 10 degrees hotter out there because it's all blacktop and stuff. To where I was standing in the parking lot with my cousin after eating, and I was like, I have to go.
Yeah.
Like I literally feel like I'm going to melt. I feel like I'm going to melt. And my poor little Yaris, the AC cannot.
Yeah.
It can get cold, but it can't combat this bullshit. Like, it's insane.
It's just like, and that's when I realized, it's like, oh no, these neighborhoods will never have trees. It will always be a monoculture. It'll always be the same grass. There will never be like natural looking landscaping. It'll always look like little, what my dad calls shrub meatballs, which are just like the perfectly spherical like boxwoods. And
what blows my mind is I remember going out to this subdivision in Halls, and these were like 4-story monstrosities. And there was maybe 10 feet between houses. I was like, so what you're, and this is like 20 years ago, we were driving around. I was like, so what you're telling me is in 20 years ago, you want me to pay $300,000, $400,000 and I can see my neighbor.
Yeah.
Through his window.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
But I get all the beige carpet I want. Yeehaw.
Yeah. Oh, and I have a deck.
Yeah.
But I can hear my neighbor farting from his deck.
Yeah. I have a deck surrounded by hot grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm never going to spend time out there.
Yeah.
It's fucking miserable.
Like it blew my, God, those houses are probably $600,000, $700,000 houses now. But they are. They're like 10 feet apart.
Yeah.
I'm like,
because you're trying to cram as many in your little lot as you can as a developer.
I love this house. I love this yard. I kind of hate that I can't hide anywhere. Like even sitting out front, I feel like I'm on display anywhere I go in this place. I love it, but
no, our yard is kind of the same. We have a fence now, but like we have like a fence on 2 sides of our backyard, but the other side is a chain link fence. So like whenever we're out there and the neighbors are out there, we're just like, do we say hi? Do we not? We have an inflatable pool on our patio, and so we're just like in our swimsuits. We're like, hello, sorry. There's like,
it'd be better if you had cocktails. You're like, hello.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we usually do. Yeah. So you have your kids.
Yeah.
We have our kids.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
enjoy.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, our neighborhood is all. Yeah, I mean, I live right almost across the street. I guess. Okay. Like I live. I'm trying to think of a good landmark. Close
across
to
Broadway?
Like, across Broadway.
Okay.
Like very close to Christenberry.
Okay.
Like on Radford. Nobody come find me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the side road that I take back roads from work to get home.
Ah, gotcha.
And I have been I've been trying to figure out better ways since they shut down Atlantic. Because that used to be my way. Because it was just
Chickamauga is what I always used to get out. But I hate the bumps.
You won't get me started. The fucking bumps are driving me nuts. But that's my argument for people not showing up.
Yeah.
To the city. Because, like, one person can complain about people speeding and they'll put bumps in if nobody combats it. Because I remember there on Nadine, a friend moved in over there and he was like, people are going too fast. I'm going to talk to the city. And he got a fucking stop sign put in. Mm-hmm. And it was because one person and nobody combated.
That's crazy because my dad is the king of trying to get I don't think he's ever fought for bumps.
That's a whole nother
sidewalk.
ballgame.
Yeah, okay. So maybe it's different with sidewalks because I remember
this neighborhood has been petitioning for sidewalks for 20
so
years. No.
Yeah, my dad, when I was born, apparently he told me this. When I was born, I was within walking distance to Central, but there were no sidewalks between our house and Central. And so he started, the year I was born, contacting the city to get sidewalks put in. And my sophomore year of high school, this one chunk of sidewalk finally went in right in front of the school. It wasn't connected to anything.
What cracks me up around here, they won't fix the sidewalks.
Oh yeah,
but they'll fix the corners.
Yeah.
That cracks me, and I think that's only, to make them ADA compliant. That's why they did it. And I was like, you dickheads. They're like, we're improving.
Well, the rest of the sidewalk isn't ADA. Like, it's a literal, like, it looks like the Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
You're just, like, crawling down and out of a ravine.
So a couple that I knew moved in over here on Fairview, and they're like, we're going to move within stumbling distance of your house.
Within stumbling distance.
But the sidewalks are so bad. I was like, you're going to fucking break your nose. You're going to face plant.
Well, now Atlantic has a nice, fancy new sidewalk, so maybe they'll come for us.
I'm worried they're going to get speed bumps.
I will just not go down that road. I've made peace with the ones on Chickamauga, and I've gotten swervy enough because they're only like the partial bumps, so I can get one tire.
My car's. I can
not
do
be
that.
too annoyed by it. But if you're behind somebody who takes the bump seriously, then you're just as
Well, my only problem is, I tried. I was like, I'm gonna try it because there's so many.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna try different rates of speed at each one. Even at like 15, it was still like boom, 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 because they're so high.
I am glad they're the long ones and not like the actual speed bump, like the ones in a parking lot. They're like super narrow.
Oh
yeah. Those are unpleasant.
Now I can't remember where I was going, but
It's okay.
we'll go with so house flipping.
House flipping. I am just bummed because when the first house I had in Knoxville was like. After living when I moved out of my parents' house, looking for that house, there were so many just like unique features in a home that you could like, and a home that was affordable, right? Like it wasn't like a fancy like historic home that I'm talking about. I'm just like, the hardwoods are original, and like the door frames are still like they're not painted, and like maybe there's some weird built-ins, or like maybe there's some wood. Like I don't know. I'm kind of pro wood paneling. I think it's kind of cool in 1 or 2 rooms.
Yeah, you've seen my kitchen.
I know.
I like how it splits the kitchen.
I love wood paneling. I think like real wood paneling, not like the fake weird like stuff. Like original fixtures, like just little things that make this house seem warm and lived in and unique. And now I noticed in the past like 5 years, every single house that goes on the market, at least the ones I look at on Zillow, which are like kind of a lot, because I don't know, that's what I waste my time doing, is like looking at Zillow for no good reason. It's just like a gray box, and you'll click on a house that you can see was built in the 20s, and you're like, that would be I bet that's a cool house on the inside. And you open it up and it looks like it could be an apartment in West Knoxville.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and the people are going to be maligning that gray laminate flooring. Like it'll be the whatever, the teal bathroom of like the future. You know what I mean? It'll be like the thing where people are like, what the fuck were they thinking? Covering up wood floor. Even like I would take a shitty, imperfect hardwood floor over. Is the sound of laminate, right? When an animal, their little claws like tap on the plastic, it's different than on hardwood, and it makes me feel like I'm in a hospital, and I hate it. And it's just like, there is no wood that is gray unless you live on the coast of Maine and you live in like a little weather beaten shack. There is no wood that is like zebra striped, because some of it is so like patterned it doesn't even look like wood anymore, even though it has like the fake grain like pressed into the plastic. I feel
like all the kitchens look exactly
all
the
the
same.
kitchens look exactly the same. You can tell when the same like house flipper has been at the same houses, because they'll put the same like geometric metal like chandelier thing over the island.
And the same marble countertops.
Same marble countertops. And like,
here's my hot take. I don't like marble countertops. I think they're too chaotic for me. I think they look ugly.
Yeah, it's like, our countertops are fine. They're not butcher block. They have like they're wood, but they have epoxy on them.
The only good thing I like that's come out of any of this flipping is the big ass kitchen sinks. Those white.
Like the farmhouse kind of style. Yeah.
Those are nice. I was trying to think. I was like, barn.
I'm pro big sink. That's true.
Those are awesome. My only problem with those is some of them there's no depth to them.
Oh,
some of them are like
they're
super short. I was like, no,
the
whole point is it needs to be big.
I could put a baby in it.
Yeah. A baby cow.
A baby cow. It's for farms.
Yeah.
I am glad I'm hoping we've moved out of like shiplap and like pretending our house is an actual barn. Barn doors inside a house that was built in 1950 is just like, what, you looking around for you pro barn door?
I kind of.
It's okay. You can say it.
Here's what I like even more. I like the doors that recede.
Pocket
into
doors.
The wall.
Pocket. You know what? And those disappear when people flip houses, because they like that's a little cool feature of an old house.
Some of the barn doors.
Barn doors are stupid because when they're
this?
closed, they always have that metal bar that extends like the length of the wall, because you have to have that metal bar all the way across.
I guess the only time I've really seen them are in like cabins in the Smokies.
Fair. That's fine. Cabins can do whatever the fuck they want.
Okay.
You can have a whole cabin themed around bears and fish,
There's
then you can put a
You
barn
won't get
door.
me started. There's another thing. Cabins as moneymakers, and they're all where you can see everything. The closeness. I hate the closeness.
Yeah, I
was
want to
like,
go
who
to a
the fuck
cabin
wa-
because I want to be in the fucking woods.
Yeah.
Numb nuts.
Yeah. Numb nuts. That only comes in hour 8.
You got me. You got education. I was like, well, what the difference between charters and public? It was like, what the fuck is wrong with the barn doors?
Oh my god. This is amazing.
If anybody's still with us.
I will say, best magazine, Garden and Gun. Awful title, amazing magazine. Amazing magazine. All right, we'll go with the rapid fire
All right.
questions. Man, I usually actually try and do segues, but that's impossible here.
We
There's
don't
too
need.
much
We
to
don't have
cover.
time.
Yeah. What would you like to see more of in teaching?
I would like to see more diverse teachers. I would like to see more efforts to create diverse teaching staffs like across all schools.
Yeah.
But now that diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are under attack, like if anybody tries to be vocal about doing that, they're going to get shot down. Other things I would like to see, I would just like to see people trust teachers to do what we're supposed to do. Like, we got into teaching not to make money, and not because we're lazy, but because we like our subject, or we like students, or we like instructing and creating materials, or we like all three. And like, we do what we're supposed to do when it comes to like the content that we're teaching. There are some teachers who are like not great, right? Like when I first started teaching, I was very like, there's no such thing as a bad teacher. And now that I've been in teaching a little bit longer, it's like, well, there's some bad teachers.
Well, yeah. What was that documentary?
Waiting for Superman.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that could have ever happened to education, I think.
Really?
Well, because it's pro charter. Because it's like all about how charters are going to
right.
save us. And I
Fuck,
was just like,
it's been so long since
Yeah.
that thing came out. I think it was the scene of all the teachers in the room because of the union just sitting around as like, oh fuck.
oh, the rubber room.
Yeah.
That's not unions. I don't even know. I don't think the rubber rooms exist. Those are teachers who are like, were being shuffled around, but like weren't actually being fired. They were just like, and that wasn't the teacher's fault. That was the district's fault. Anyway, yes. That was a thing that was in that
I remember
movie.
that. I forgot it was a charter school thing.
Yeah, it was like very pro charter. It was just like,
That film was also a lot of years ago.
yeah, what was that, like 2009 maybe?
Maybe.
That's my guess.
You want to bet on it?
I do want a treat or something if I am correct. Piece of candy.
2010.
God damn it! I was so close.
I should have. Once I saw it, I should have said, "I tell you what, you can throw something." We're not even saying anything. You can take that skateboard and whack me over the head.
No,
with
that's
it.
your art.
Yeah,
It's important.
it's very important. Okay. Is there anything you'd like to see more of in music? Although we can, I guess, in a broader term, because you've already
In a
kind of talked
broader
about
term.
Knoxville.
Yeah, more of in music. Literally what I want to see is the untelevised portion of the Grammys. That's what I want to see. I want to see all those people who work so hard and make the music that is interesting and not on the radio, who are getting awards and being recognized, but only in the like pre-show ceremony. Show the whole thing. And I want them to perform. I want to see the best gospel album perform. I want to see the best world music perform. I want to see the best spoken word album do like whatever, like perform a little bit.
You're going to lose me on that one. 'Cause I think the Grammys are bullshit. But
Oh no, I think the Grammys are bullshit because they have. Yeah, I think like in general awards like turn art into something that or like in a more extreme way, it's already commodified. But like, yeah, it's dependent on the commodification of this art. At the same time, like, I think the reason the Grammys suck so much is because they're so bland and disgusting and like not interesting. Because it's just like you're just like a big old circle jerk of like all these people who are already incredibly famous and making lots of money and like at the top of their like career. And that's why I say like, yeah, all that stuff before like. Because I see people who have been nominated for and received Grammys. I'm like, when was that? And then I realized, like, oh, because it was folk album, and like that's not televised. Like that was for Best Americana or Best Roots.
Well, I always go back to the international IBAA, International Bluegrass Association of America, or something like that, to where Steve Martin came here and played with. Why can I never remember
Steve Canyon Rangers?
Thank you.
Okay.
Fuck, I have seen them a lot.
I've seen them
Like
several
8 or
times.
9 times.
Not as many as that.
Because they came and played here every February.
Yeah.
And I would go see them every time. And I love them. They're great.
They're great.
They are guys I would actually like to meet because I feel like they are all
They
very
would be
nice
cool.
guys. Because they're all very fun guys.
Yeah.
But he came and he was like, yeah, I released this album and I win Best Banjo Player of the Year. I was like, yeah, because he was making the joke because he was
Right.
famous.
Yeah.
And then the other guy in the Steep Canyon Rangers sitting there with the banjo just
Yeah.
kinda like,
Like, who the fuck is this guy?
yeah. And that's because I ended up going down a little rabbit hole with the Bill Monroe thing. I was like, it's like, oh, he won the first Best Bluegrass Grammy. I was like, no shit.
Yeah.
He should have.
Yeah.
It's named after him.
Yeah.
Like, are you high?
Yeah.
And it turned out it didn't happen until like 1987. And then I started looking through the list. I'm looking through the winners. I'm like, some of these are terrible. I was like, oh, that was the fashionable person that
yeah.
year.
Yeah. When it comes, maybe for the Grammys, I don't even want winners. I just want all the people who are like, we're
I want
recognizing.
someone to explain to me the difference between best album and best record of the year.
Yeah, I also don't understand that. There's a lot of awards.
It's kind of like I'm that way about the Oscars.
Yeah.
And they went back to televising everything this year. And I still get frustrated at the Oscars. It's like, you were missing.
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
Like, this is even a weird one to die on a hill, since you used that term earlier. The film The Batman wasn't nominated for like best cinematography. And the way it was shot was utterly fascinating. Because it was like all prime lenses to where shit was out. Like, it was just the way it was shot was like, holy, like, this is like truly kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it didn't even get nominated.
Yeah. Well,
Or the score. Like,
when I learned, and maybe this is the same with, it's probably the same with the Grammys. Maybe at least with like the like best artist of the year or whatever, like the big ones. But when I learned that for Oscars, there's literal campaigns that like
and you have to nominate yourself.
You have
the
to nominate
studio has to
yourself.
nominate you.
you have to go on your like circuit
Yeah.
and do all the interviews, do all the festivals, try and get nominated, try and win, and like schmooze all the
So there
people in
was
the Academy.
blowback this year from the film To Leslie because the lead actress Andrea Riseborough. Apparently, it was produced by somebody famous who asked their famous friends to watch it, and if they liked it,
I remember this.
Yes, and there were a lot of people bitching about it. I was like, "This is what's been going
This
on."
is literally how it works.
This-
You're just seeing it for the first time.
I was like, I don't know why you're getting mad about it this time,
Yeah.
when this is how it happens.
they're like,
and
no,
also-
it's about the art. It's the art should speak for itself. It doesn't.
In that vein, Andrea Riseborough is one of the greatest actresses.
Yeah, I remember.
of like the last 20 years.
everybody was like, no, she actually kind of deserves it.
Yeah. And it was just like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about? Like, this is stupid. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I remember
have
that.
looked through. I've spent way too much time on Wikipedia, and I have looked at so many years of like, oh, Denzel won for Training Day because they were making it up for not giving it to him for Hurricane. Oh, shit. Russell Crowe won for Gladiator because they were making it up for not giving it to him for The Inside. I was like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
I will say, so I try to watch every film that's nominated for Best Picture. They got it right last year with Everything Everywhere All at Once because that was, and I actually was Brent and Megan are also big movie nerds, and I was like, I'm not kidding. I'm sitting there watching the Oscars. It's like, here it is. Here's the moment. It's the changing of the guard right here because Steven Spielberg is on like row 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the rest of them are on row 1.
Yeah. Steven Spielberg's movie about himself.
It was not a very good. Although, here's my argument.
I didn't see it, so I can't say
Here's
anything.
my argument for that movie. As a film nerd, the last scene, or the last scene and the last shot were unbelievable.
Okay.
Are you ever going to see it?
I don't know. You can ruin it for me.
So, spoilers. So, I don't know how movie nerds you are or TV nerd you are. It's a real thing that happened that Steven Spielberg went and visited John Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who John Ford
No.
is? The most famous Western director of
Okay.
all time. Directed most of Merriam's films. I like
Gotcha.
saying his real name. John Wayne.
Gotcha.
His
Gotcha.
real name is Merriam. Fuck John Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah. So no. Yes.
Fuck him.
I agree.
You fucking pile of shit. Draft dodging piece of shit. Fuck you, John Wayne. I love some of your movies, but as a person, you're a piece of shit. Anyway, John Ford, one of the greatest American directors.
Uh-huh.
Steven Spielberg actually gets to meet John Ford, and it's played by David Lynch.
Wow.
And I love David
I
Lynch.
do love David
I
Lynch.
love David. And he is spot on. Like, you can actually watch the scene. You
Yeah.
ought to watch the scene. 'Cause
Okay,
it's
okay.
great. And he's sitting there talking to him, and he's very gruff. And
Yeah.
just like John Ford. And it goes down exactly how Spielberg has been telling that story for like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, look at that picture. Here, I'm going to do it to you. Look at that picture. What do you explain it to me? And he's like, well, it's a man on a horse and all that. He's like, no, where's the horizon? He was like, it's at the bottom. He was like, okay, now go over to that picture. And he was like, explain that one to me. Yeah.
That's a good example.
It
We're pointing at Andrew Wyatt's Christina's World,
And
which
he
is
was
the
like,
first one that's
explain that
everybody's
painting to me. And he was like, well, it's set at dusk and the light. He was like, where's the horizon? And he was like, it's at the top. And he goes, put the horizon at the top or the bottom. Or you should put the horizon at the top or the bottom. That's good. You put it in the middle. Boring as shit. All right, good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
Like, that's essentially, I am fucking that up.
Look.
And he leaves, and he just says, like, good luck, kid, or something like
That's
that.
funny. I will say.
So, no, I got to finish.
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
got to finish. And then it shows Steven Spielberg leaving the studio, and he's walking around the studio, and the horizon's in the middle, and all of a sudden it pans. And I was like,
funny.
that's the fucking greatest. I was like, that last scene and that last shot, oh my God. The rest of the movie, it's a 6. It's a 6.5.
Yeah.
Because it's still an interesting. The dad is terrible. The dad and mom are terrible on that.
Is the
film.
dad Adam Driver? Who's the dad?
No, it's Paul Dano.
Oh, okay. I
And
get
he
them
is
confused.
just so. I don't know a polite way to say this. There's an improper term. I'm not going to use the improper word. He's so down and whipped.
Yeah.
Like the whole film.
That gets
even when his
tedious.
wife is cheating on him
Yeah.
with his best friend, and she's so manic and crazy that it's just like, these two are terrible.
Yeah.
Like, these are terrible people.
Yeah.
But that thing with the last
horizon.
shot of it,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God. I was like, that's glorious. Oh, that's great. The rest of the film, oh, that's great.
Yep.
It shouldn't have been nominated. It shouldn't have been
Yeah.
nominated. But it was nominated
But it
because
was
it's Steven Spielberg.
You're what are
David
you
Lynch.
talking about?
God love. I could go down a rabbit hole of David Lynch, man. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anyone you would like to work with?
Like,
At all?
in what capacity?
Poetry?
Oh, shit. I wish you'd.
music?
Mm.
I don't know teaching, so.
No, I don't want to work with anybody in teaching. Let me do it myself. Wow. Okay, so man, when you say work with, it does imply collaboration.
Yes.
And I mean, I would love to play, like, when it comes to music, I would love to play with anybody in the realm and the sphere of, yeah, people who are taking old time music and not necessarily like making it new, not like doing like the Grateful Dead thing where you take, like, you know, the lyrics and you just like do some like something bigger and more modern, but like in the realm of Rhiannon Giddens and Anna Kia and like all these people who
Can I
are.
give you two?
What do you say?
Can I give you two?
Sure.
Gillian Welch and David Ross.
Oh yeah, they were on my list.
And Milk Carton Kids.
Oh,
I love those dudes.
all right.
Have you ever seen them?
I've not.
Oh my God. If they I will be going.
Okay.
If they ever come here,
All right.
I will be going.
Okay.
If y'all want to go,
Okay.
let me know.
All right.
They're funny as shit.
Oh, fun.
They're
All right.
I've seen them a bunch.
Yeah.
And they, whatever it costs, they
Yeah.
are worth it.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. Like, they are, and they're great.
Yeah.
Anyway. sorry.
Cool.
I'm being a good accountability buddy.
Okay, you're you're doing exactly the right thing. I would say if I could be like anybody, like musically, somebody I really admire is Willie Watson, who played with Old Crow Medicine Show for a while. But yeah, he's doing old time tunes, and like has made them not changed them necessarily. I think texturized them, added more voices, added a little bit more like collaborated with other artists, and then just like. But the thing that he really does to make those songs hit so good is just like he's just takes his craft so seriously, like just his voice, the way he articulates, the way he like plays with like the phrasing or the dynamics of like, again, a piece like a song that has been around for forever. He just like breathes new life into it, and people like it. People want to listen to it, and you don't have to. That was a thing that I like. Another thing that prevented me from taking music in a more commercial direction, like trying to make more money off of it, was because I knew I was going to have to do something, or I was pretty sure I was going to have to do something more contemporary. Like people don't want to listen to Nail That Catfish to a Tree, like, or shove that pig's foot a little farther.
I mean, that guy.
I met him at Barley's.
That was Barley's.
No, I bet I was there. I bet I was like right outside that shot. He was like
2018,
Yep.
February 2018.
Yep. I remember I just was talking to him because I used to teach one of his songs, or his version of a song, when I taught Of Mice and Men. Because when I taught Of Mice and Men, I made like a little soundtrack for it, and I like found like a traditional or folk tune for each chapter, and we would like analyze why the song fits, and then by the end they would have to choose some of their own songs and like explain why they fit with the characters of the story. And I was explaining to him like one of his songs that I always taught, and like how important it was to me, and like the kids really enjoyed it, and he seemed like genuinely appreciative and touched, and he's like, "You want to go smoke a joint?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I'm busy.
No.
I gotta go home." But I will always regret not smoking a joint with Willie Watson.
I think he's someone I like, but I saw him too many times in too short of a time.
Yeah.
So I think the last time he came down, I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I saw him too, because
He was here. Like I missed him. He was here this
Yeah.
spring. I fucking missed it.
There's one song that he has that I can't stand because I've heard it so many times.
Which one is it?
I can't tell you. No, I mean, I literally can't tell you,
Yeah.
but if I heard it, I'd be like, oh, I fucking hate that song because I don't like the song that much.
Yeah.
And then it was like, there were times where he came, and when Dave Rawlings did his first tour, and it was Dave Rawlings, Gillian Welch, Willie Watson, and John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin. I was at that show.
Yep. What year was that?
2015.
Okay.
Maybe,
I think I was there for that.
Maybe earlier.
I think I saw that one.
That sold out very quick.
Yeah.
But that one, he got to play like 2 songs, and he played that song that I did not like. And then I heard it at Rhythm and Blooms, and he played like 3 times at Rhythm and Blooms, and I went to all 3 of those shows, and he like started with that one. I was like, dude, I never want to hear this song again.
I heard it.
Holy shit. And I could, like, if I pulled up his iTunes, I bet it's number 1. Like,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I'm going to pull up Spotify.
Yeah, I'm pulling
I'll
up.
do it.
You do it.
And it drives me absolutely bonkers. This is good podcasting.
Yeah, just silently clicking. Everybody, all right, it's phone time.
Well, I'm going to go by an older album.
He only has like 2 solo ones, right? Folk Singer Volume 1, Folk Singer Volume 2.
Oh, yeah. So it's got to be off the first one.
Gallows Pole?
No,
Midnight Special.
That's the old song, Midnight Special. It's not that.
Yeah. I don't know what it could be.
Maybe it was actually an OCMS song that he wrote.
Stewball? Mexican Cowboy? Everybody likes Mexican Cowboy.
That's it. Keep It Clean.
Oh, Keep It Clean. That's okay.
That song drove me absolutely nuts. And I think it was, I just heard it so much.
Yeah. No,
and
there's
it's
definitely
a very weird song.
It is a weird. I remember the first several times I
was like,
listened
oh,
to it. I was like,
God.
I don't know what's going on here.
It was one of his most listened to. I was like, of course it is.
Yeah.
That one kind of drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Like, but I loved seeing him at bar. He was fantastic.
He was
at
great.
Barley's.
It
And
was
that
just
drunk
like-
girl that you could see behind me, she would not. And he was even at a point, he's like,
It's like, who,
can you move so
can
we can
you
get a picture?
please
And she was
go
like,
away?
why?
Yeah.
And my friend was like, we have to walk away.
Yeah.
Did you go see Willie Carlisle?
No.
He's coming back. They're doing a Tennessee Shines.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be local honeys, Willie Carlisle, Jim Lauderdale's going to
Well,
doing it at the
good
Bijou.
morning. Damn.
That's when I'm going to wait and see.
Yeah.
And I've been buying too many tickets. So.
yeah.
can't
Slow
do it.
down. Slow down.
All right.
Okay.
Do you set goals or a checklist?
No. I should probably. I do. So in my day-to-day life, when it comes to like lists, and everybody says like make a list, it'll make it more manageable. But the second I make a list, I'm like, well, Jesus! Now I can see all of it, and now it's like in my face, black and white. So lists actually stress me out more. But when it comes to like big goals, like when I get a goal in mind, I do like I've figured out in order to achieve that goal, I need to tell somebody about it because I need that little affirmation. I need that one person to be like, yeah, you should totally do that. And be like, okay, well, I got to do it now. And then usually my goals are like pretty not generic and not big, but like for instance, this year, or actually a few years ago. No, maybe it was just last year was the first year I made this goal. I was like, I wanted to get something published. And so I was like, I didn't take it very seriously the first year. I don't know. I just like kind of, the year got away from me and I realized like I hadn't really tried very hard. And this year I was like, I'm going to do it. So I joined the poetry workshopping group. I started like actually, tweaking my stuff. And then I started, actually submitting it lots of places. And then today I found out I got 2 of my poems are going to be published. So that's great.
I hate I got that spoiled on
I know.
social media.
I saw that you liked it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
damn. I'm not
Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
very
awesome.
much. Yeah, I was shocked because like so the way I submit, and a lot of people do.
As your accountability buddy, you shouldn't be. You're great.
So the way and a lot of people do it, there's a website called Submittable, and it's just like what a lot of publications use as their like platform to submit stuff. So it's really easy on there because you can like go to like a little Discover tab and just like search for things that you think are going to be like, similar to what the kind of stuff that you want to publish. So I like, it's easy to submit the same thing to a lot of different places. And so I had been like getting all these rejection emails. And so the one I got today, I saw it said Poetry South at the top. And my finger was like going to swipe. And then I was like, wait a minute, that one looks different. And I was just like, holy shit. All right. So that would be my first poem. Well, besides a poem I got published in like the undergraduate journal at ETSU, which it was not a very good poem. These are my first 2 like real poems. They're going to be published in a real place.
That's great.
And people have to pay money to read them.
Oh my God.
But don't worry, I'll share it with everybody.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a goal that I had, and I think the next goal I have might be trying to get into an MFA program. I like determine if that's really the thing that I want, but I think I'm getting to realize that it is the thing that I want.
Stupid question. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
What would your discipline be in the MFA? Writing or?
So I would choose either poetry or fiction, or I could
Okay.
do like a multi-genre, like depending on what program I go to, which there's really only one in my research that seems like pretty ideal for me, but MFA programs are hard to get into, so I can't be too like.
Are they going to be online or in person?
It would be in person.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a summer thing though. I would do a low residency program.
Okay.
So something where I would go to like each summer for a few weeks a summer until I'd gotten all my credits. But yeah, Swanee has one that's just like that. It's like from the middle of June to the middle of July, and you take like 2 classes each summer, and then
Where's Swanee?
it's like 2.5 hours like southwest of Knoxville. So it's still in Tennessee.
Okay.
It's kind
For
of
some
like
reason I thought it was in North Carolina.
no, that one though. That's Swannanoa. Swannanoa
Okay.
is a city in North Carolina.
Okay.
But yeah, Swanee is the University of the South.
Okay.
That's what
I know that name. I think I've known friends that have gone
Yeah.
there, but you may have answered this question though with that. Do you know what you'd like to do in the next 10 years?
I think I want to do that. hopefully still keep teaching until the climate of public ed gets so inhospitable that only like a tardigrade could survive it. Then, like as hard as it gets, it's still, I think, the job that is most compatible with like my values and what I enjoy doing every day. So hopefully still
Anything
teaching
with music. Next 10
I
years?
don't know. I think I'd want to, something I would like to do, I think just for like posterity's sake, is like record
Okay.
just like a small something, just like a little album of folk tunes that like have been meaningful to me that I think that I
If
like.
if
that
you
I
need
know.
art, I know a guy.
Okay.
No, as your accountability buddy, I'd be
As-
like, hey, let's go to the letterpress shop and do your artwork
Yes.
through letterpress.
Yes.
See?
And then I'll have to
Yeah.
do it.
I also made that note. I put bug Sarah about us coming to learn letterpress. What would
Truly,
that take
like-
or cost?
Yeah, I will pay money to
Yeah.
learn. I will pay, and then I will volunteer my time to help run, like
Yep.
whatever.
It may be something to where I may bug you and say, hey, Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
can we buy you a beer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's be
and
friends.
talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to talk. I want more than a DM or an email to where I can
Yeah.
actually talk business
Yeah,
and
yeah,
shit and be like, how can we make this work? What are you thinking on what I can do to help this
Yeah.
make money for you?
Yeah.
I can't. That apparently is my motto. How can I
How
help?
can I help you make money?
How can I help you make money? I should have a late night infomercial.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
Yeah.
like. It sounds like.
And the final question, it's a big one.
Oh.
If you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell them?
Oh man, I don't know if I'd want to tell them anything because that might, No. I will. I'll answer. I'm going to answer this question.
Rachel, the last person I record with, Rachel, she was like, "Oh, I think everything has worked out how it should." I was like, "Damn it, that's a cop out. Come on."
No, I like. Okay, if I could end up exactly where I am today, exactly the person I am today, and still be able to tell that 14-year-old me a thing, and it wouldn't change the future.
Yeah.
All those caveats, I would be like, take a second and figure out what you actually care about that is separate from prestige and what you think you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay in that relationship with that person just because you don't think you have a good enough reason to leave.
Yeah.
And you're going to be really cool one day, and you're going to like really like where your life ended up. And it's going to be kind of weird in the middle. But, well, I'm not at the end of my life. I hope I'm in the middle of my life. But
Those are
when you're,
the learning years.
yeah, the learning years. Yeah, it's figure out what you actually like and do it. And that's so crazy because my dad was telling me, I remember my dad telling me that verbatim all through high school. It's like, you don't get it, Dad. I got to get a straight A so I can get into
Your
Princeton.
punk rock was like, "No,
It's
Dad.
like, no, Dad.
I'm going to make
That's
my
your
life
dream to
miserable."
be yourself. It's not mine. No.
All right. Well,
Listen
thank
to
you
your
for
dad.
coming on.
Thank
I
you for
can't
having
believe
me.
This episode was longer than
Oh, is it serious? It didn't feel as long. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Well,
Thanks.
last time we spent like 30 minutes shooting the shit before we even turned
Oh,
on the
yeah,
mic,
that's
so
right.
that's probably why. Okay.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun, and this is a great thing that you do with your friends, and I
hardly.
appreciate it.
I'm going to cut all that shit out.
Okay.
All right, thank you.